This video contains subject matter that may be offensive and disturbing to some people. If you are the type to require a warning throughout a video or show, let this message serve as your warning. This channel discusses the harsh reality of true crime. If this warning is not sufficient for you, consider a different genre and unsubscribe from my channel immediately. What's going on, freakazoids? How the hell's it going? Yeah. Does anybody have cool temperatures in the U.S. here? It's pretty hot, pretty hot. You can hear my air conditioning in the background. It's going to be 102 here in a couple days, and that's Oregon. I mean, my God, what is it like in Arizona? 147? Who knows, right? Who knows? Anyways, tonight we're going to be doing a, it's weird. I actually found the folder that I had started in November of 2021. Had one article in it, but I don't think I ever covered this case because there's, that was all there was. It was the one article, and I usually, I would look stuff up. So it must have been something I was starting when I never got back to it. And there was no Google Earth folder or anything like that. So I think this is one that I'd heard of, apparently. And now we are going to cover it from the beginning. All right, so there's people out there that have probably been following along, and I know that the sister is going to be in the chat. Probably some people from, let me get the name of the Facebook group. Hold on a second. The Facebook group is called Justice for Jennifer and Adrianna. My God, my window just, hold on a second, now I gotta open this back up again. It just shut down. Hit the wrong button there. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Get that one open. Now I gotta get another one open. Actually shut down the main window here. Okay, yeah, so the group is called Justice for Jennifer and Adrianna Wix, W-I-X, and you can go to their, on Facebook, just type that in, Justice for Jennifer and Adrianna Wix, and there's just tons and tons of stuff on there. It goes on and on and on, so, like, they've been covering it for years in there, okay? But, it's interesting how a case like this, originally it was just kind of a missing persons case where, obviously family probably never thought it was. But I was officially changed from missing persons to homicide in 2013. And that's really all I know about it. And I do that intentionally when I'm doing these, so that we just start from the beginning and go through the different articles over the years and get the new information when it comes in, and boom, 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 and then we're all caught up, and and then of course at that point, I might actually have, I think it's, all of a sudden now my brain is, hold on, let me check one more thing. Man, I got an email. Yeah, it was weird because Casey Wicks, that's the sister, she had emailed me, but I didn't realize who she was when she emailed me. She goes, hey, would you would you cover this case? And it's interesting how you got a case like this. It's really interesting and stuff like that. But then nobody, it's covered here and there by, by big channels, but it really kind of really sporadically. And then you have somebody like Summer Wells who gets covered every second of every day by every Tom, Dick, and Harry YouTuber that there ever was. It just never ends. And it's like, well, how come you don't like split some of that time up? I know what the answer is. It's because you get more views and likes and subs when you cover the really, really popular ones. Well, how about everybody once in a while, at least once a year, cover something other than the one that you think is really big, okay? I do it at least 4 or 5 times a week, okay? So, I think everybody else could probably sneak something in once in a while, right? Thanks, Mike S. Gil, Crystal, a.k.a. Beaver Gaming Sub Crystal, the longest name in YouTube history, and Eugenie. Thank you. All right, so anyways, let's just get moving on this. It might take a while. And then I think Casey might actually call in at some point. Thanks, Colin Pendleton. Did your Oculus Plus tell you to send that in? All right. Let me get a picture here first. I mean, this is a picture of Jennifer and Adrianna. Adrianna is the child, and thinks she's 2 years old, and Jennifer's 22. 22 and 2, I think, at the time. And these are just various pictures. I think it's about what she. I think she's a little older than this picture here, but. All right. So here we go. That is who we're talking about. And this is the first mention I could find in an article. Was March 31st it might be in some other paper somewhere, but it wasn't on newspapers.com. So on 2004, March 31st, they went missing on looks like the 25th. So this is, 5 or 6 days later. Right here it says the 24th, but I've seen 25th and 24th, so I guess we'll have to figure out when that exactly is later on, right? So family and friends gathered for candlelight vigil Monday for Jennifer Wicks, 22, and daughter Adrianna, 2, who have been missing since March 24th. The family brought pictures and many of Adrianna's belongings to the vigil at City Park in Cross Plains. Wicks's mother, Kathy Holloway, told officials that she hasn't heard from Wicks since March 24th, when Wicks called upset over an argument with her boyfriend. Well, see, already you've got a sort of an initial red flag right there, right? That's just kind of how it is. When you see something like that there was an argument with a boyfriend, and then right at the very beginning you might think, well, she got an argument and she could have ran away, right? But when you, I don't know what comes up next, but when the family starts saying that's not like her, she wouldn't do that, she wouldn't run away, then you have to, change how you look at it. I mean, so a lot of times family members know, well, every time really, family members know way more than what police know about what their personality is. Like, police always think, oh, they're a runaway, they're a runaway right off the get-go, because that's just kind of like their default position every single time. And you have to convince them. But it seems like if I was the police and I was told that somebody's missing or ran away, or you believe that, but you talk to the family members and they say, hey, she's never ran away before, or she wouldn't do that, she talks to everybody all the time, she's really active doing this, that, and the other thing, then immediately you should shift focus to something else instead of waiting. I don't know what they did here, but I'm just throwing it out there because that happens all the time. Okay, so that was March 31st. And then here's the same year, 2004, April 14th. Kathy Holloway, the mother, is on a mission since she has taken a leave of absence from a full-time job to find her missing daughter and granddaughter. Holloway travels daily around Robertson County looking for any sign of Jennifer Wick's 22 and 2-year-old Adrianna, who have been missing since March 24th from their Cross Plains home. Little has changed in the last few weeks in the case. Police still have no leads, or no solid leads, officials said. This is my full-time job now, the mother said. This is all I do, said Holloway, who wears a pin on her clothing with a picture of Jennifer and Adrianna. The pin keeps her family close to her as well as keeps Jennifer and Adrianna's face in the public's eye. I'll do anything that might help me find them, she said. Holloway also is to the point where she will gladly take information anonymously as long as it leads to Jennifer and Adrianna. If someone knows something, they can phone in anonymously. I don't care. I just want them back. Holloway reported her daughter and granddaughter missing. When she last spoke to Jennifer, Wicks, her daughter, was upset over an argument she had with Wicks's live-in boyfriend, Joey Benton. All right, so I got to write that name down. But let me just take a second here. Hold on. I'm going to look him up really quick. And this is in Cross Plains. Okay, well there's a couple, well there's weird how there's like it's listed twice. There's an Antoine in the middle. Is it, I don't know if that's his middle name or not, but let's see. You know what was interesting, there was another Jennifer Wicks who actually lived in Cross Plains that was 50-something years old. I mean, what are the odds of that? Man, that's, let's see. And where did it say? Let me go look at the note message. Hold on one second. I was told what street it was, so let me look. Oh, that's it? Okay. That doesn't look like... It's Chapel, you're saying on a Chapel Road? Yeah, I didn't see it on this one. Let me try a different, another person with that same name. Just takes a second, I gotta go, I like to map everything out to be able to, nope, that's not it either. Cross Plains. So yeah, that address doesn't show up, the street name that you gave me on there. Alright, so anyways, authorities have used cadaver dogs to search some of Joey Benton's family property. There we go. There's another, well, I guess they gave it in the next sentence. I should have read the next sentence. That's crazy. Oh my god. What are the odds? They never put addresses in all the way like that. Owens Chapel Road. There we go. And that's it. So that's not, that was another home she lived at for a while, I guess. So it's right here. Alright, so now we have that. Joey Benton. Alright, so keep that right there. Holloway has even consulted a psychic, oh boy, about the whereabouts of her daughter and granddaughter. This channel, at least me specifically, I can't stand psychics, don't believe them at all. I think they're blood-sucking jackasses of the world who do nothing but try to play upon the grieving families to make money for them to say, oh wow, hey, I know how to do it. I could just pay me a whole bunch of money. I'll tell you what the, you know, it's just really sick. Okay, so I don't have any respect for any psychics whatsoever. Okay. Now you might, and that's cool and everything, but I think they're just tricking people. They always say specific little things that kind of are somewhat vague, and then people go, "Oh yeah, that's pretty close. That's what I was thinking." So, I mean, a good psychic is somebody that's a pretty decent investigator of just looking at the facts and then pretending they derived the information from beings beyond. Okay? Yeah, no, that's totally bogus. All right? So there we go. And we're going to move on to April 30th, 2004. Robertson County Sheriff's officials are searching for Jennifer Wicks, 22, and her daughter, Adrianna, 2, who were reported missing by their family on Saturday. Her mother, Kathy Holloway, told authorities that she hasn't heard from her daughter since last Wednesday night when Wicks called upset over an argument she had with her live-in boyfriend, William Joseph Benton. We just want to hear from her. We wish she would get in contact with us so we would know that she's all right. Wicks is very close to her family and is known for staying in constant contact. There you go. Boom. This is, and here we go. I mean, I haven't read these things. I'm just saying this is how this works. Watch. This is completely out of character for her not to call anybody in the family, said Lisa Robertson, Wicks's aunt. She calls several times a day and talks to some of us. I knew something was wrong when she didn't call. Yesterday, Robertson County Sheriff officials were following leads about possible sightings of Wicks. So right now, they're way over, they're 5 weeks in at this point. So far, officials have no evidence of foul play. Over the weekend, sheriff detectives questioned Benton Wicks's boyfriend, Bennett said. According to an incident report, Benton, 23, told authorities several stories about the last time he saw his girlfriend. So we're already in a point where you go, okay, this boyfriend has something to do with something. He's lying. She had just gotten in an argument with him. She was really upset, called her mom. At first, he told authorities that he last saw Wicks on Thursday when she left with a friend he didn't know. Then officials say his story changed when he told them that he took Wicks and her daughter to an Exxon station and dropped them off at around 9:30 that night. Well, that is a absolutely ridiculous red flag right there. I mean, you got somebody at first that said, oh, they took off with somebody. And then he thought about it for a while and he went, I wonder if I was caught on surveillance somewhere. So I better come up with something. I think that there might have been a camera around here. So let me just say, okay, yeah. She got in my car and everything, but the thing is, she was angry, whatnot. So I dropped her off at an Exxon station. I mean, that's a huge variance in the story right there, right? When asked, he could not recall which Exxon. Yeah, because that happens all the time. You drop somebody off and you just can't remember. That is so bogus right there. Listen to that. Listen to that right there. You don't remember what Exxon you dropped your girlfriend off of? I mean, there's like 17,000 Exxons around there, and you just forgot which one. There's no way anybody would ever forget what Exxon or gas station, or let's say you drop your... Okay, how about this? 7-Eleven, for God's sakes. If you dropped a friend off at 7-Eleven, you aren't going to forget what 7-Eleven it was because you're the one that drove, and you knew how you drove there. You don't forget something like that. All right, so his story changed several times more, the report said. He told authorities that Wicks left his house at 6681. Let me read some of it. All right, so when he asked, he could not recall which Exxon. Then they said his story changed several times more, the report said. He told authorities that Wicks left his house at 6681 Owens Chapel Road in a white four-door Mustang or a white four-door Chevrolet Camaro. Benton could not be reached for comment yesterday. She tries to be very caring parent. She could be anywhere because she is so trusting. We are so worried. She tries to be a very caring person. She could be anywhere. because she's trusting. We are so worried about her, said Nick Holloway. Man, I would have been immediately realized that he had something to do with it, instead of even thinking that maybe she did get dropped off at the Exxon and somebody, because he's already lied, you know. Jennifer Wicks's family said she is in the habit of sleeping in and staying up late night. She has a habit of chewing her nails and is a regular smoker. She wears glasses sometimes, but mostly only to drive. She likes to visit Walmart often and has a tribal design tattoo on the small of her back. All right, then we go all the way like 8 months later. And this is about like a candlelight vigil that they were having. Candlelight vigil for Jennifer Wicks. It's going to be at the Owens Chapel Methodist Church at 6742 Owens Chapel Road. Let me just throw in where that is really quick. 6742. Just want to see where it is in relation to some of these. There. Yeah, I was thinking that sounded so close to where. You notice how it's like right down the street, huh? That's hilarious. Was that intentional? $67.42. Hold on. Alright, that's where the candlelight vigil was. On the street from Joey Benton's place where he shared with Jennifer. The vigil is being put on by members of Wick's family, including Jennifer Wicks's mother. See, I think that was intentionally put right there. Also invited are members of the other families with missing loved ones, along with members of nonprofit Child Seek Network Incorporated. The public is invited to bring their candles and show support. Alright, now we're on to March 27th, 2005. Authorities still hoping finding missing woman and daughter. Last week marked the 1-year anniversary of disappearance of Jennifer Wicks. You know what's weird? It's just based on that original information. It's strange that it's taken them so long. It took them like 8 more years to say that it was a homicide. Ridiculous. Since January, we've had 104 sightings. Oh, well, there you go. They have a bunch of sightings. That's totally bogus, though. Bennett said, holding up a stack of stapled papers with listed sightings. We work with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And this is an organization here that we donate a lot of money to. I think this year so far we've donated, what is it? Texas Echo Search has 5,000. It's coming up here. RAIN, Violence Against Women, has 3,500. And then NCMEC, we've given $4,165 because NCMEC is, I mean, they are an amazing organization that helps, I mean, tremendously with missing children, and they just, you know, they work with the families, law enforcement, everything. I can't say that every single person has a great experience or whatever, but as a whole, they're awesome. Because I don't interview everybody that works with them. The sheriff's office isn't alone in the mission to find Wicks, now 23, and her young daughter. At first, I drove roads and talked to people, all of her old friends, said Kathy Holloway. I was either on the road or on the phone. I went without food and sleep. I just ran on adrenaline. Holloway last spoke with her daughter Wednesday, March 24th, 2004, when she called at about 9 p.m. She was upset over an argument she had with her boyfriend. Okay, then about a year after that, in 2006, I thought this was kind of interesting. It was just an article about a family member, it seemed like. Peggy Calvert, along with 6 other candidates, is running for sheriffs in Robertson County. I never thought of becoming a sheriff until I became a victim of crime in the county, and becoming a victim made me realize how desperately Robertson County needs a change in their law enforcement leadership. This change must occur for the future of Robertson County. Calvert, 63, and her family say they have been seeking justice for nearly 2 years after the disappearance of her granddaughter, Jennifer Wicks, and then 22 and great-granddaughter. So this must be the mother of Holloway, or maybe it's another side of the family. I don't really know for sure. But since the disappearance, Calvert says her life has changed dramatically. I retired in January 2004, intending to travel, and then 2 months later, my grandchildren went missing, and that's been my life for 2 years. I know that people would say that I'm only running for this office to pursue my own case, and if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be running. But I see how unfair we've been treated, and I don't want it to happen to everybody else. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see, I was thinking the same thing, like, man, if you went in there, would you just put all your energy on just trying to find your grandchildren? But it could just be that you want to make a change. It's sort of like when like I had a brother that died from, he had drugs in his system. He wasn't like a drug addict or something, but he did coke at a party, and it made his heart beat funny, and they just couldn't get him back. I think that, he probably would have lived today with all the technologies they have with the fibrillation and stuff like that. But anyways, he didn't defibrillators. All right, but he didn't make it. But, my mom fought against, she fought against the legalization of drugs, which is absolutely noble. I don't give a damn if you're one of those people out there that, God, Gray, I think all drugs should be legal. I think that, I don't really give a shit what you think about it. It's, drugs are shitty for people. So, whether you like them or not, that's different, right? So, anyways, she, and I'm not disparaging if you want to go do whatever you're going to do, but absolutely noble cause. I can't stand when people go, oh man, as soon as I say, my mom fought against the legalization of drugs, they go, oh man, that sucks, man. I think drugs should be legal. I just don't give a damn what your opinion is, okay? And I'm just telling you what she did. So she went out and fought against the legalization of drugs, right? But I guess she could have went and just tried to focus narrowly on who was the one that gave him the drugs, who did the... She went on a larger mission, and maybe that's what this lady was going to try to do here as a sheriff, to try to change the way, the culture of how the the sheriff's office and police and whatnot treat missing persons cases. Maybe she was going to make a difference. All right, so that was 2006 and 2007, March 21st. Keeping Wick's story in the public eye is crucial to someday learning. I mean, isn't it amazing? Because there wasn't a lot of articles. It looks like there are, because I'm showing you over an 18-year period. But in reality, there were very few, like there was 6, 7, 8 months in between. And here you go, look at Summer Wells. And in this case, there's a 2-year-old missing and an adult. But Summer Wells, you have a comment, 47 videos a day made. You've got thousands of people covering it, and it's good for her. Glad she's got the coverage, but I think you could spread that out a little bit. All right, guys. All right. So, anyways, one of the largest fears I have as a mom is that people will forget them. Anyone with information about the disappearance of Jennifer and Adrianna Wicks is asked to contact the Robertson County Sheriff's Office at 384-7971. They don't have the area code for some reason. There are at least 44 missing adults and 17 missing children across the state, although Tennessee Bureau of Investigation says there's more missing children than reports have posted for public viewing. All right. So anyways, that was 2007. In 2009, there was this site called Blue Crime Hunter blog. It seemed like it had a decent, let me just see what it says in this write-up here. Jennifer and Adrianna Wicks disappeared into thin air March 25th, 2004. Often, I think it was, might have been 24th though. That's what it sounds like. So I don't know what, this is just a blog somebody wrote. And then, but I'm just going through time and things that I could find in various time frames, right? So this is 2009. Often that let's see, I think it starts up here. Probably, say, folks, look, it's way up here. What a weird format. Folks, it isn't too often that I'm shocked beyond belief when reading about a crime story. But the story of Jennifer and Adrianna, a.k.a. Nina Wicks. Hold on a second. Thank you, Amber Maiden. Has my panties bunched into positions I didn't even know existed. I stumbled onto this story on the web, and after more research I have found information ranging from topics to the web sleuth sites. It is enough garbage to make you want to puke out your favorite food of the century. But hey, maybe this will be somebody I like, who can't stand the crazy, wild conspiracy nut jobs. In the meantime, Jay's mother, Kathy Holloway, is on a mission to find out what happened to her precious family members, only to be told her daughter was a hoe and she's pimping out her granddaughter. Oh man, is that really what's going on out there? That kind of stuff? See, that's exactly what happens in every case. Just absolute nut jobs take over and start saying stuff that has no validity whatsoever. This isn't the typical commentary usually found on a message board in a criminal case. Usually the support of the public is key, except there are cases where the usual guilty have their crew of supporters backing them up. Except there are cases where the usual guilty, yeah, exactly. Wow, this is cool, man. I'm actually reading somebody that I feel like a kindred spirit with. Yeah, so you've got these, so right now, and like in the Delphi case we've talked about, there's there's like 3 or 4 crazy YouTubers that keep accusing the family of the murders of their own little girl. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And then there's all these psycho people in the comments that believe the stuff that they're saying. You see what I'm saying? But this is really cool. This is 2009, and this is before. This is almost a little bit before all this kind of stuff, So this isn't the typical commentary usually found on message board in a criminal case. Usually the support of the public is key, except there are cases where the usual guilty have their crew of supporters backing them up. If you read my blog on the Corey Wood case, you can see this is true in the case of Scott Petro, obviously guilty of the slaying of Corey Wood, but yet to be charged. Don't worry, folks. Blue Crime Hunter is on top of, on the up and up in that case, and knows this one to be truly guilty, and his time is coming. I have not yet infiltrated the Bentons, but have faith it is my new mission. Let's see. So Jennifer and Adrianna went missing allegedly on the evening of March 25th. I thought it was the 24th though. 2004, according to Jay's boyfriend, Slimy Joey Benton. He dropped Jay and A off at a gas station, which isn't true. He told law enforcement that he last saw Wicks when he dropped her and her daughter off at an Exxon station around 9:30 that last night, the 25th, near Cross Plains. He stated they left with someone in a white car. Now later, Benton claims it was a white 4-door Mustang or Camaro. Last I checked, they don't make 4-door in either of those models. My radar is scanning at full speed. What makes this story more preposterous is that Benton makes a claim that his girlfriend shows up at his home the following day looking for her income tax return while driving the same vehicle she was seen getting into the previous evening. At this time, he claims her daughter was not present. To date, Joey Benton is not able to give law enforcement the make and model of this car. So he's saying, oh no, I saw her the next day. In fact, when I dropped her off at the Exxon station, this is just what this person's saying. Oh, yeah. So when I dropped her off at the Exxon station, she got into this white car. I don't remember exactly what it looked like, but lo and behold, the next day, she came back to my house in the same white vehicle looking for her income tax returns. So, hey, there's proof of life right there, everybody. I'm the one that saw her. Yeah, that's actually almost funny. It's so stupid. At this time, he claims her daughter was not present. Is this his daughter at all either, though? The boyfriend, or is it the father or somebody else? I don't know that part. At this time, he claims her daughter was not present. To date, Joey Benton is not able to give law enforcement the make and model of this car. Since the time of the disappearance, the Benton family, who Wicks resided with, have been hesitant in their cooperation with family. Wow, this sounds like the Gabby Petito situation. There have been searches on the land that is quite expansive, but never has there been a full search of all land. Cadaver dogs have not had the chance to comb the full capacity of the land the Bentons own. Why not? What is more troubling and disturbing in this case is all the slander and trash talk that the Wicks Holloway family has had to endure at the hands of Benton family. Not only have they had to deal with the Benton family, they also have had to suffer when learning that Joey Benton likes to run his mouth after he has consumed either too much alcohol or drugs. Pure speculation, folks. Yeah. Anyways, the links in the description. There's a lot of commenting. Various people reply back and so forth. I'm probably going to go through later. Let me see. I think this is continuation up here, though. So let's see. From Clicking on Topics. The boy's name is Joey Benton. This information should be passed on to Lieutenant Don Benton of the Robertson County Sheriff's Department. Next, another example from Papa Bear himself, the father of Joey Benton, who writes as a regular on Topics. Here is Joe Benton tell this account of the evening that Jennifer Wicks and her daughter went missing. So this is the father, I guess. Wow, that's crazy. On Thursday night, when they left, me and my wife were both home. There was a car wreck, spelled, R-E-C-K, right, in front of our house, so the police or someone else may have seen them leave. Joey did not return until around 10. He had to pick up her cousin and be in Franklin by early Friday. I don't think she took the car seat from Joey's truck. She returned on Friday after Joey and her cousin got home from work and got some things. I believe the car seat was one of them. He then went to a party Friday night. Jennifer's aunt called late Friday night and asked Joey what he knew about where Jennifer had gone. I carried him over there because he had been drinking. As I have posted, the police did not show up until Saturday. Yeah, I mean, how do you believe anything? I mean, this is almost like, it'd be interesting to go through this and build timelines off of what other people say and then find all the discrepancies, but, I don't really want to go through all these here, so I'm going to get back to the articles, but that looks like it might be pretty interesting on there. So on November 2011, March 16th. That's where we're at now. Yeah, there's other guys in here. They just don't chat that much. All right, so vigil to mark anniversary of missing Wicks girls. So now we're 7 years later. Peggy Calvert and her daughter Kathy Holloway. And remember, Peggy was the one that ran for sheriff. Kathy is the mother of Jennifer and the grandmother of Adrianna, and Peggy is the grandmother and great-grandmother of these two. But inevitably, the conversation goes to another, younger mother and daughter, Jennifer and Adrianna Wicks. This month marks the 7th anniversary of the girl's disappearance. Some tell Holloway that her daughter Jennifer's disappearance was of her own doing. They say Jennifer is an adult. She could have left if she wanted to. But Holloway believes she knows her daughter better than that. Her income tax refund came in the mail that day, she explains. It was $500. That was a big deal to her. Over the last couple of weeks, before she disappeared, we talked on the phone and she was spending that money. Every time it might be something different. She was watching for it. So she'd be on the phone saying, ooh, I'm going to buy a pair of this, I'm going to buy a pair of shoes, I'm going to buy a shirt, I'm going to buy a radio, and all these different things. She was waiting for her money to come in. Over the last couple of weeks before she disappeared, we talked on the phone and she was spending that money. Every time it might be something different. She was watching for it. Why would she not wait for that check? It came that day. Everything see, that's one of those things when there's things like that should make a huge difference to police when they hear something like that. Everywhere you go, someone asks about the girl, said Calvert. They are always with me. Jennifer would be 29 this year. Adrianna would be 9 years old. She was such a sweet, kind little girl. She had a real comical personality at 2. She had developed a personality, agreed Holloway. I don't think of them as being dead. My fear is that they will be forgotten. They certainly aren't forgotten by me. This year, to honor the missing girls, family and friends will meet Saturday, March 26, in the parking lot of the Springfield Walmart. At noon, they will release balloons and doves. We will start out with Music City Shopping Center, 900 Conference Drive in Goodlettsville, Holloway explained. We will ride to the Walmart in Springfield and we'll end up at Bob and Rhonda's in White House. We would like any bikers to come ride. Alright, so now this is a longer article on March 18th, 2011. So let's see what this one has in it. March 24th will mark a 7-year anniversary for Summer County resident Kathy Casey, one she hoped would never come. It will be the day her daughter Jennifer Wicks and granddaughter Adrianna vanished from a Cross Plains farm in the Owens Chapel community. On March 26th, family and friends will gather to remember the then 24-year-old mother and 2-year-old girl, and Casey said she prays that someday the girls will receive justice. Thank you, Ellen. We do a balloon and dove release every year on the anniversary of the day they went missing. A group of at least 75 motorcyclists, mainly from Hendersonville. Okay. Let me go. I'm trying to find the spot where maybe they have some new information. Okay, the case is still open with the Robertson County Sheriff's Department. And Casey said she speaks with department officials each month, but despite efforts to obtain a warrant to search the property where the girls were last seen, Casey said, she and her family still have no leads. I think they were deceased from the very beginning, probably as soon as I reported them missing, Casey said. This has had a drastic effect on on our family. Even in happy family times, it's always there. Yep, that's exactly right. See, missing person, presumed dead, are just absolutely the worst of the worst of the worst. You're stuck in a constant state of limbo forever until they're found. I mean, you would actually rather be in a situation, I guarantee it, if you ask the family members, they've already made peace with the fact that she's not alive. They would have rather had her be found not alive in 2004 than to spend all these years wondering where she is. And, to get the answers a long time ago. then you can actually start, move to a different chapter of your life, and you never get over the death of somebody, but you can at least live somewhat normally. But when somebody's missing, you've always got this weight on your shoulders, and you're just think about it. Think how you would feel right now if all of a sudden you never heard from your daughter again, and you don't know where they are, but you know that they were with somebody that probably had something to do with that. See? It's a freaking nightmare is what it is. So you should always have a lot of respect for family members. When you say family members, it's the family members of the people that that aren't part of why they're missing. I mean, like this Benton guy, like, who gives a shit what he's thinking? Okay, I really, nobody cares. Okay, still, Casey said she will never give up until she finds her daughter and granddaughter. Casey said she always remembers her daughter's kind spirit, especially towards animals. Looking back on Jen's life, I think of her love for animals the most often, Casey said. She always had a special gift with horses. She loves animals so much that she would say that she was taking Adrianna to the zoo when she was an infant, when everyone knew that she was really going for Jennifer. What does that mean? I don't get that part. Oh, Casey. Casey's let's see. Casey said, that's the woman I'm talking with on Facebook. Said she always remembers her daughter. Well, no, wait. Let's see. How come why does it Casey? So, is there a different Casey here? Hold on a second. Resident Kathy. Oh, Kathy Casey. I see. I was like, wow, why does that sound confusing to me? That's the person's last name. Man, how many Caseys are in this case? Man, like first name, last names? Like, that totally threw me off right there. At times, when Casey feels she may be forgetting bits and pieces of her daughter, a home video brings her comfort. She was my firstborn child, Casey said. She taught me what love is all about, and sometimes I just want to remember her voice. Okay, so was her last name Holloway before, maybe? Or is that a different... Yeah, that's totally confusing, that part, but... Did she go from Holloway to Casey at some point? Let me check something out. Was it this article? Yeah, Kathy Holloway became Kathy Casey. Okay, that makes sense. All right. All right, now it makes sense. I just didn't catch the name change. All right, so Jennifer Wicks and daughter Adrianna have been listed as missing from Robertson County since March 25th, 2004, last seen near I-65 in Cross Plains. The pair, so they're saying, are people actually believing that he dropped them off? Okay. And they're saying near 65, so it's probably the Shell station right there, or one of these two, if that's what they're saying. I don't know. I'll just put a pin down here. I didn't see an Exxon. But did Exxon get bought out by Shell maybe? Or hey, thanks, Cindy Leon. Missing from Robertson County since March 25th, 2004. Last seen near I-65 in Cross Plains, the pair has been the subject of several major searches and a spot on America's Most Wanted television program. There has been no information leading to their discovery, although Captain Don Bennett of the Robertson County Sheriff's Office said his department has tracked alleged sightings and leads from as far away as Florida, Michigan, Oklahoma, and California. We've had reported sightings from all over the United States, said Bennett. We've followed up on every one of them. The two are listed with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which recently released an age progression photo of Adrianna. The girl, who was 2 at the time of the pair's disappearance, would now be 9 years old. Alright. And then here's another memorial bike ride. They do something similar in the Delphi case for Abby and Libby. So the weekend will mark 8 years since Hendersonville resident Kathy Nail has been or heard from her daughter. Okay, now they say Kathy Nail. Is that a different... Did she get married again, or what's going on with that one? Is that a different Kathy? Hasn't heard from her daughter. I mean, so it's the same, but they spelled Kathy with a C. Both disappeared from Cross Plains on March 24th. Now they have the 24th again. Despite thousands of leads and endless hours of police manpower, the whereabouts of Jennifer and her daughter are still unknown. To remember the girls and keep their memory alive, the 8th annual Chain of Hope bike ride is scheduled for Sunday, March 25th. We do a balloon and dove release every year on the anniversary of the day they went missing, Nail said. I just don't want people to forget them. The 8-mile bike ride will start at the Goodlettsville Kmart on Long Hollow Pike at 1 p.m. The ride will follow, so that just goes through. But anyways, those are the stories that they keep putting out, like just sort of a courtesy. Hey, everybody, here's a, nobody seemed to really be doing a lot of investigative journalism or anything. When you live there, you can do that. All right, so we got that, and then hold on, I gotta open up my. This is from yesterday, but I'm gonna load something into there really quick. So this is from 2013. There was this crazy, like an ad on inserted into a video. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen, a YouTube video. All right, so this is 2013, and it's from. Hold on one second. I want to give the credit to where it came from. The link's in the description, but it is
in ground or above ground pool.
It's Smoky Barn News. Okay.
I'm feeling hopeful. I'm nervous. I'm
so now they have a K instead of a C.
But I'm also feeling hopeful because they've confirmed what I always believed. And
thanks, WC.
Now I'm hopeful someone will come forward and do the right thing. I'll never give up. You know that, Jim. I won't give up. So I know it's not over. It's just another leg of the journey, and one I'm willing to take.
I know for the official classification, you must be very relieved about that, to know that the legal system is believing now what you have.
Yeah, so right around this time, I mean, this is actually this day right here, they reclassified it as a homicide, and all before that was just a missing person case.
Always known.
Yes, it's a great relief, and goes a long way in renewing my faith in the legal system. To see that they have worked to this point and not given up and worked to this point in order to, like you said, confirm what I've known from ever since March 25th, 2004 in my mother's heart.
I know that you deal with this every minute of your day and every day. How will you sleep tonight?
It's hard to say because I have trouble sleeping every night. Maybe it will help me sleep a little better, hopefully. But I would say there'll still be a whole lot on my mind tonight in thinking about what brought this, what came about, how this came about. Because as you know, I don't know details. And so just my curiosity, would, of course, is going to have my mind racing as to what all it, brought it about. But I think that there'll be a certain amount of peace with it as well. I hope. Yep.
Thank you, Charles.
For some little peace. And I'm just hoping that the person comes forward after they see the press release, that they come forward and give them the information to go ahead, solve my daughter and granddaughter's homicide. Their murder. That's what I hope.
What do you feel about today?
I'm thankful for today. We've needed a news conference for a long time.
Hey, we get to see everybody. That's the one that ran for sheriff.
Because I knew from day one Jennifer wasn't missing. I knew it was foul play. I knew we'd never see her again. But I'm so thankful they're working hard now to solve all of this and bring it to a close.
What do you think what does the reclassification mean to you personally?
Well, we were out looking for Jennifer and the baby. Now we don't have to look for them. We just want the murderer or the whatever they done to them. I'm sure they're dead.
Casey, how's it going?
We want justice and would like to see them in jail. I knew from the beginning this is the way it would wind up. I just didn't know when.
Thank you all for being here today. We'd like to make an announcement that after careful review by the District Attorney's Office, the Sheriff's Office, the TBI, and other investigative officers, we're here to declare the reclassification of the Wicks, Adrianna, being from a missing persons to a homicide. Nobody has been eliminated from as a suspect.
How would it take them that many years to do that? That's ridiculous.
In this case, we've developed some new information in the last several weeks that brings us to the conclusion that there was foul play involved, and we are pursuing that as we speak in a renewed effort between Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and Robbins County Sheriff's Office, all investigators. And I have the mother here, Kathy, and she'd like to say we'd like to make a plea to, we're convinced that there are people out there that know what happened. They may be reluctant to come forward. We've established a special hotline number that's going.
Hey, Casey, are you in this video right here? One of these people? Like maybe her or her? Maybe this one right here.
Going up immediately following this press conference, 615-478-5763. And that hotline is going to be available immediately.
You're in the blue.
And we hope and pray that whoever sees this will come forward, and those that have information will be willing to provide it confidentially. They can also do it through email, through tips, through our website. So, Kathy, would you like to say something?
Thank you, Sheriff. It's been almost 10 years.
So you had 3 siblings?
I just want to say thank you, first of all, to the Sheriff's Department for never giving up on Jennifer and Adrianna's case and working diligently still to bring it to a close and help our family with closure. Further than that, I'd like to ask the public, we need your help. As Sheriff Holt said, there's someone out there who does know exactly what happened to Jennifer and to Adrianna. And I am pleading and begging as a mom and a grandmom for whoever that person is to please search your conscience
And that background music drives
and
me
do the
nuts.
right thing. Call the tip line, get in touch with the Sheriff's Department. There is a reward offered if that helps, but most of all, I'm just hoping that someone's conscience will enable them to finally come forward and let us know what exactly happened to Jennifer and Adrianna in 2004, who's responsible, and help us bring justice. Most of all, help me find my girls and lay them to rest with respect and dignity.
It must be weird to see your own mom on the
We
screen.
live in a different world now than we lived in 10 years ago, and we get up every morning and it's the first thing on our mind. We go to bed every night and it's the last thing on our mind. We've been constantly searching, always talking to people, just looking and trying to find resources all the time, and it just never stops. It's not something that stops. I mean, you hear a song or you smell a smell, and it all brings it back so fresh to you, and you just don't ever stop, and it just turns your life upside down, and basically it turns it into a nightmare, a living nightmare.
Yeah, it's never a different story than that right there.
You know, anyone can still be, a suspect in this. I mean, do you feel like someone is going to be seeing this tonight and no information, and they're just not willing to come forward right now?
Yes, yes, I definitely feel like that the person who has the information will see this tonight, and that's why I'm so grateful for all of you being here, because I really believe that someone who has that information may come forward after they see this tonight. They may have been afraid for some reason, or felt unsure about the information they had, or some reason, and now it may help them, give them the courage that they need to step up.
May I ask what the origin of the 17,000 is, and how you feel that may or may not affect the case, or development and lead to the case?
Not the reward amount?
It's a private reward. It's just money from my family and close friends, money we've raised through the years, and some of it is Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers has a reward as well, and the TBI also has a little bit of a reward in there. So it's just a combined amount.
I think it ends right there. Well, maybe there's more in the video.
Well, there you have it.
No, that's the guy. Alright, so anyways, the channel that was on is called... Hold on one more time.
This newsreel is being brought to you by...
The channel that the video is on is called... Well, unfortunately, I can't seem to... Wow, what's going on here? No, I know what it is. Hold on.
In ground or above ground.
It's called Smoky Barn News. They were just recorded an actual news broadcast and then put it in there as a video. They even recorded the commercials. Alright. So this is in the paper on December 18th, 2013. The Henderson mother has new hope for resolution in a missing persons case that it was reclassified as a homicide by the Robertson County Sheriff's Office on Monday. The mother and daughter, Jennifer Wicks, 22, and two-year-old Adrianna Wicks, were reported missing by family members in March of 2004. There is someone out there who does know exactly what happened to Jennifer and Adrianna, and I'm pleading and begging as a mom and a grandmom for whoever that person is to please search your conscience and do the right thing. Yeah, so I think that's basically kind of just repeating what she said at the press conference. All right, and then April 2014, February 2nd, as the 10th anniversary of the disappearance of a Robertson County mom and her 2-year-old daughter came and went, Kathy Nail of Hendersonville still holds out hope of learning what happened to her family. The annual Chain of Hope motorcycle ride and balloon release was held Saturday to remember Jennifer and Adrianna Wicks. 10 years ago, on Thursday, March 24th, 2004, when Nail didn't hear from her daughter, she said she thought nothing of it. Not hearing from her for a day didn't alarm me, Nail said. When she still couldn't reach her the following day, Nail reported Jennifer, 21, and granddaughter Ariana as missing. That's pretty amazing that she, just was like, wow, I can't get a hold of him. So, she was able to think, yeah, this is so unusual that I'm going to call it in. And then police went, well, let's wait another, I bet you anything they said, let's wait a few days. She could be just out somewhere and, got away for a while. She'll be back. Don't worry about it. They've stayed missing and classified that way with law enforcement until December 2013, when the Robertson County Sheriff's Office reclassified the case. A $17,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction in the homicide was also announced. In February, Governor Bill Haslam added to that amount when he issued a $10,000 reward for information leading to a conviction in the deaths of Robertson County mother and daughter. When Nail's effort to reach out and find Jennifer and Adrianna 10 years ago failed, she said her hunch now is that both girls were dead. She was already gone, Nail said. I think she was probably gone on that Thursday. Yeah, I think that's most likely, Now, the whole story about dropping him off at the Exxon is totally bogus. I can't imagine that they obviously haven't been able to prove that happened. I think she was already gone, Nail said. Last Saturday, Chain of Hope Ride was a fundraiser with a part of the money going towards Reward Fund. And let's see, the other portion towards flyers and advertising awareness in the case, according to Nail. Nail said her hope in the investigation is a mixed bag of hope, the first being that the girls would be found alive and then giving her family closure. Yeah. And 10 days later, reward increases. I'm not sure. This seems like this is... Well, it's actually 17,000. Let's see what it says. Governor Bill Haslam has issued a $10,000 reward for information that leads to... So this is 10 from the state, and then there's a private reward of 17,000. According to a letter received from the governor's office Wednesday, Haslam has issued that reward at the request of the 19th Judicial District Attorney General John Carney. Tennessee law allows the governor to issue up to 50,000. He makes the determination based on the facts of each case. Let's see. In a statement issued Wednesday, Robertson County Sheriff's Office spokesman Ryan Martin said the investigation into the mother and daughter's disappearance was continuing. No new information was provided on the status of the case. Kathy Nail, Jennifer Wicks' mother, also spoke at the news conference, saying family members, close friends, Crime Stoppers, and the TBI had come together to offer $17,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. So I guess that's 27 total. There is someone out there who does know exactly what happened to Jennifer and Adrianna. This is the April 9th right here. Looks like there was a continuation from previous page. I don't have that. Let's go to this one. Information still being sought in missing Tennessee child case. Information is still being sought in the case of a missing child last seen 10 years ago in Cross Plains, Tennessee. Adrianna Wicks, 12, would be 12 now, was last seen on March. They shouldn't put that like that, you know. They should say Adrianna Wicks, who was 2 years old at the time of her disappearance and would now be 12, was last seen on March 25th, 2004, when she was 2 years old. Authority, I mean, they put that in there, but it's like, you know, they've already ruled that it's a homicide, so when you put in there that she's 12, people's minds think differently. Authorities say she may be in the company of her mother, Jennifer Wicks, and they may still be in the local area. Both Adrianna Wicks and Jennifer Wicks are white. Adrianna Wicks has blue eyes, brown hair, and a birthmark on her right thigh, and may go by the nickname Nina. Jennifer Wicks is 5 feet 4 inches tall, weighs 130 pounds, and has brown eyes, brown hair, and has a tattoo on her back. Anyone with information should contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-843-5678 or 1-800-THE-LOST, or the Robertson County, Tennessee Sheriff's Office at 615-384-7971. Yeah, I think this is the article. This is the one that I had from November, just in a folder by itself, so I thought I'd throw it back in there. Is that you right there? Let's see. Let's see who's talking.
Stop thinking.
Well, that's Casey,
Casey
right
Robinson,
there.
a louder voice.
It's not top of mind for a lot of people anymore, you know, but it's still top of mind for us.
Robinson, now married with kids, was only 15 years old when her sister and niece went missing.
Most people don't think about it all the time, but I can't stop thinking about it.
Well, yeah, you can't. How
because
can you?
they're gone.
Yeah.
Someone took them. Someone did something to them.
Jennifer Wicks and her daughter were last heard from on March 25, 2004. They were living at the home of Joey Benton, Wicks' boyfriend at the time, in the Owens Chapel community. According to Robertson County deputies, Benton told officers that he dropped the two off at a gas station in Cross Plains, then saw them get into a white car.
It was treated as a runaway case and then turned into a missing persons whenever no one heard from her, and then later turned into a homicide case.
Benton claims he saw her the next day at his home without her daughter. They had a conversation, she left in the same car, and nobody ever saw her again.
It has ruined that family's life. It really has. And, you know, I mean, I wish I could have it in my heart to feel bad about that, you know, but I don't. And that happens to people that are guilty.
Since the two went missing, family and friends have worked to keep Wicks and her daughter in the forefront of investigators' minds. They've had little luck until recently.
We've recently connected with some of her boyfriend's family members, which we've not talked to them in years.
Robinson says it's prompted an ongoing search, adding there is new information right now and she can't discuss, though she is telling us her emotional plea.
After 17 years, these types of cases, they seem to get forgotten. And I understand there are more time-sensitive cases right now. I understand. But what I'm asking is that you don't forget them, because something did happen to them in that town, at that home, with that family.
There is now a $25,000 reward offered in this case. If you know anything at all, the family is asking that you call TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND. Meantime, Casey is holding an online event Tuesday, November 9th in an effort to bring more awareness to the case. We do have more information for you posted on our website, WKRN.com.
Okay. Let me see. I think I might have a couple more. Let's see what the murder squad put in it. All right, let's see. 21-year-old Jennifer Wicks' family last spoke to her on Thursday, March 25th, 2004, sometime in the afternoon, And then according to her boyfriend at the time, Jennifer and her 2-year-old daughter off at a boyfriend at the time, Jennifer and her 2-year-old daughter, I think they meant to say dropped her off at a local gas station in Cross Plains, Tennessee. No one at the gas station saw them, and they haven't been seen in over 17 years. See, there you go. Nobody saw them get dropped off at the gas station. There's no proof that they were dropped off at the gas station. That's just what he says. 21, let me get some water. I just inhaled something. Oh, man. Hold on a second. All right, there you go. Man, that was weird. Like a lot of times I get these allergies things that kick in really quick. So he's not the father, okay. Was the biological father involved in the life at all? In Adrianna's life? "32 months for Claudia Neubauer." Hey, Stacy, still here. Look at that. Yay. Yeah. If that was his own child, it probably wouldn't have killed the child and came up with another story. You know, but he didn't care, didn't feel anything. Now, how's he doing? The bio dad, he must have been freaked out. Probably felt guilty. All right, 21-year-old Jennifer Wicks is the oldest of her mom Kathy's 3 daughters. They were all very close. Her sister Casey described Jennifer as quiet and strong-willed. When Jennifer gave birth to her daughter Adrianna in January 2002, everyone was supportive. Let's see. While Jennifer's mother, Kathy, was living in Vegas in 2003, Jennifer met a new boyfriend. And his name was Joey Benton. The two had an off and on again relationship. In September of 2003, thanks Claudia Neubauer, in September 2003, Kathy received a frantic phone call from Jennifer. She allegedly told her mother that Joey had threatened to harm himself. Jennifer, see, here's what I bet you happened. I bet you this is like a new boyfriend, but I'm just going to predict. This is what I was thinking when I was curing my cough. That I think Jennifer didn't want to be with him anymore after a specific argument. And she's like, I'm done, you know. And he didn't want that. He didn't want it to be that way. So he might have even said, if you leave, I'm going to kill myself. And then she goes, I'm leaving, you know. And he's one of those people that wasn't going to allow it without, you know, he was like, I can have you or nobody gets to. And then he did something to her. That's what I think probably happened there. Because that's about the only thing that would do that. Like if, you know, he chose to date, like they chose to date each other, right? And he already knew that she had a child. So the child part isn't the issue. There isn't like this child support problem or anything like that. The only issue would be is if she didn't want to be with him anymore. And he's one of those types. Well, of course he did, Zozo. The baby's missing and the mom. We've gone over that since the beginning. Alright, so anyways, the two had an off and on again relationship. See, off and on, but somehow, you know, I guess off and on means that there was times where, you know, I don't know, I bet there were always her not, you know, saying, hey, let's just take a break. But then maybe there was this final time. Alright, so in the two had an off again, an on again and off again relationship. In September 2003, Kathy received a frantic phone call from Jennifer. She allegedly told her mother that Joey had threatened to harm himself. Jennifer and Adrianna, oh, that's their name. So that's again himself, Jennifer and Adrianna. So he threatened to hurt himself and all of them. Like he said, okay, I'm going to harm myself, like a murder-suicide situation. Jennifer went to stay with her grandmother, Wicks, after this, but did not file a police report. Yeah, I mean, that's really concerning. I mean, that's really obvious at that point. Kathy decided to move her and Casey back home to Tennessee to be closer to Jennifer. Kathy decided to move her and Casey back to be closer to Jennifer. Okay, so Casey's mom decided to move, you know, so it's actually Jennifer, Casey, and Kathy, the mom, that we just showed a few minutes ago, moved Casey nearer to where Jennifer lived. And when Kathy got to Tennessee, Jennifer and Adrianna moved in with her. At the time, she and Joey were no longer together. So they had been dating, then they broke up, and now Jennifer and Adrianna are living with Kathy and probably Casey at the time. Hey, thanks, Timothy. Appreciate it. I mean, I hope people appreciate the way we do these, because it seems like you get a better sort of just fullness of how the case is. You go from the very beginning and just sort of just a hint of something, and now, you know, obviously we have to rely on other people's stories and everything, but you put them all together and it definitely tells a story, right? I mean, so the murder sheet here usually has contact, not murder sheet, the murder squad has contacts with, you know, people in law enforcement. So, you know, either through them or interviewing with the family, they were able to get extra information here. You know, Paul Holes is part of the murder squad, so he has extra information. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you guys like it. Well, thanks, Casey. Yeah. And see, that's why we don't normally, on this channel, there are cases where it's obvious that it is sort of something, you know, in the family situation, but, you know, most of the time we just go through it from the beginning and the reporting, and if you stick with that, you are going to be really close to what happened. But if you just sort of sit around on your own and have a wild thought and do a whole show on your wild thought, like a crazy narrative, people like seem to enjoy that more, though, sadly. Like the general public is filled with a lot of, like, I always call them like really dumb people, but I don't know what to say, but they're just so willing to accept anything, so they just sort of glom on to the most sensationalistic, interesting story, and that is what they go with. And sadly, it works for those people, those channels. They actually do better than the mine. But I'm not going to ever change the way I do it. Okay, so whether I get 257 people watching or 600 people watching, that's great, but I'm going to keep doing it the same way because it's the right way to do it. Well, Gray, who says what's the right way to do it? I mean, well, I can just tell you the right way to do it is when you do it where it's ethically done using the facts in the case with speculation based on the facts that you're given, not the come up with speculation and try to make the facts fit your speculation. Okay, that's not the way you do it. Well, thanks, Jen. All right, so here we go. We're just going through the murder squad here. So let me just start back up at this part again. The two had an on and off again relationship. In September 2003, Kathy received a frantic phone call from Jennifer. She had allegedly told her mother. So this is, 6 months prior. Kathy received a frantic phone call from Jennifer, so the mother, the biological mother that we've been watching in various clips and reading about in articles. I'm not sure why I have to say biological mother. I'm just telling you it's well, there could be another grandparent, but that's not, or a parent from her ex, but that's not what I'm talking about here. It's just, Kathy received a frantic phone call from Jennifer. She had allegedly told her mother that Joey had threatened to harm himself, Jennifer, and Adrianna. So all of them. Jennifer went to then stay with her grandmother. Okay, so that means she stayed with Jennifer then went and stayed with her grandmother, which would be the lady that ran for sheriff after this, but did not file a police report. So then after that, Kathy and Casey, the mother was concerned, Kathy was, so she packed up everything and moved her and Casey to Tennessee to be closer to Jennifer. And then when the mother, Kathy, got to Tennessee, Jennifer and Adrianna both moved in with her, and I would assume Casey as well, so they're all living at the same place. At the time, and I think that's this house right here, right? I mean, I think it's right here in this area. So it's not really that far from, where was that? Right over Joey Benton's house. I think it's, let's just measure it. About 5 miles as a crow flies, with probably 7 driving, maybe 8. Okay, and then it said, so, Jennifer and Adrianna moved in with Kathy and Casey. At the time, she and Joey were no longer together, so she wasn't dating the wacko. This changed sometime in November, so just 2 months after she moved in, it changed in November of 2003, which at this point is 4 months prior to them being murdered. But Kathy made it clear he was not allowed in her home. So Jennifer started seeing Joey again, and then Kathy, Jennifer's mother, said, hey, well, he's not allowed over here. He threatened to kill you and your kids and everything. I mean, and I'm sure there was even conversations like, why are you getting back together with this guy? But we hear these stories all the time too, right? It's the classic domestic violence story. In fact, it's very, it kind of reminded me a little bit of, in a way, but not exactly the same, but remember the Carissa Fretwell, it's a totally different MO and everything, but it's a mother and a kid that were killed here in Oregon, Salem, Oregon, because the biological father didn't want to pay child support and all this kind of stuff. But, it's still just, a really young child, and a mother, and they're just killed by some wacko for some unknown, it doesn't really matter what the motive is. It's just so crazy that somebody could have the ability to kill somebody over something like that. In this case, I think it was control. He wasn't able to control anymore. Like, she was going to leave for good this time. And I bet you all the other times, see, even the time that we just heard about here, she left him because he threatened to kill himself and her. And I bet you it was probably because they got in an argument and she goes, man, I'm gonna take off. And he goes, I'm gonna kill you and myself if you take off. And then somehow she got out of that one. And then later he was able to sucker her back in, get her back in. Yeah. Let's see. Hey Zozo, let me just go through the show here so that our guests can sort of follow along with what we're doing. Let's see. I don't really know about your, the stuff that you're theorizing about. There hasn't been anything mentioned about it at this point. So, I mean, if there is, we'll get to it in the articles. Let's see. On December 21st, 2003, Joey came to the house. Okay, so where were we at? This changed sometime in November of 2003, but Kathy made it clear he was not allowed in her home. All right? I'm just talking about, she just set up above about the, if there's violence and the history of violence or sexual assault with him and stuff like that. We haven't got to that yet. That's what I'm saying. I would assume this article here by the Murder Squad would bring up any of that stuff. Okay, so let me get through that one. Thank you, Freebird Forever. Awesome. Yeah, I know, but that's because, but that's what I'm saying, Sue. I know, you don't need to tell me how the conversation went, Sue. See, this is what always happens like this. I know exactly what's going on there. All right? It's just a lot of stuff thrown out there, and I'd rather have the guests following along with what we're doing instead of having to respond to 100 questions in the chat. Because she's going to come on here in a minute. You can ask her 1,000 things if you want to. All right, WNC Granny. Oh, God. Here we go. Let the whining begin. All right. So let's see. On December 21st, 2003, Joey came to the house. So this is 3 months prior. Joey came to the house. Jennifer decided that she and Adrianna were going to move in with Joey. All right, so, wow. He came over to the house, and then Jennifer and Adrianna, Jennifer decided that she was going to move her and Adrianna in with Joey. Kathy didn't want it to happen. According to Jennifer's sister, Casey, who's in the chat right there, arguing ensued. At 15 years old, she took her niece to a back bedroom and called 911. Wow. That's crazy. So she was really trying to keep that from happening. According to Jennifer's sister, Casey, arguing ensued. At 15 years old, she took her niece. So you took Adrianna back to the back bedroom and then called 911. We were able to talk to Casey that day. We were able to talk to Casey that day. What does that mean? At this time, Jennifer, Adrianna, and Joey lived in what was called the barn on the Benton family property. Casey says it was more of a shed. There was a bed, a couch, a television, a space heater, but it didn't have running water. If they wanted to use the bathroom or take a shower, they had to go inside Joey's parents' home. Wow. A few weeks before their disappearance, Jennifer, Joey, and Adrianna had moved in to Joey's parents' home. So they went from the barn into the parents' home. It wasn't warm enough to stay in that barn anymore. because that was winter time. The house was set up for Joey and Jennifer to have a room, Adrianna to have her own room, and then Joey's parents had a bedroom. Jennifer was beginning to sleep. To sleep train the 2-year-old when, what does that mean? Was beginning to sleep train the 2-year-old. I guess I don't know what that means. What does sleep train mean? I've never heard of that. Beginning to sleep train the 2-year-old when she became sick. So Jennifer became sick when trying to... Oh, that's what that is. I've never even heard of that. Just sleep on her own. Okay. Okay, I've never heard of that one. On the evening of March 22nd, 2004, Jennifer called her mother, Kathy. Adrianna was running a fever. So this is March 22nd. This is 2 days before she went missing. On the evening of March 22nd, Jennifer called her mother, Kathy. Adrianna was running a fever. So Adrianna was sick and said it hurt to use the bathroom. So could that have been, what Zozo was talking about up there? Because in this article, like if it hurts to go to the bathroom, maybe that has something to do with that. I don't know. Kathy told Jennifer to take the baby to the emergency room, but Jennifer didn't have a car, so she had to rely on Joey and his family. She told her mom that no one would take her. Jesus. Ultimately, her aunt took Jennifer and the baby to the hospital. So an aunt drove over. So I guess like Kathy wasn't able to get over there or something. They were kept there overnight while tests were run. Before they were released, the treating physician told Jennifer and the aunt that it appeared Adrianna had an infection usually only seen in sexually active adult female patients, right? So here it is. See, if we had just waited a few minutes, it would have been in the article. All right, her aunt returned her and the baby back to Joey's house. Jennifer called her mom and told her about the ER visit. Well, that just is a whole different ballgame here then. So it could have been after the assault, which was 2 days before, if there was one. I mean, we have it must have been an ongoing assault. So after she was sleep trained, maybe Joey would go into that room and she developed a... that makes it just... That's sick. Jesus. I mean, it's sick anyways, but I mean, this is... So when she was sleep training and she was all alone, maybe Joey would go in there and he would, assault her. And there maybe, and they, oh man. So that's probably what the whole argument was about when they got back home. There was an argument on the 24th, and there might have been stuff said like, we're going to press charges and that sort of thing. Wow, that's a nightmare. Jesus. Oh, you're just thinking maybe, well, it's even worse than what you were thinking there, Zozo. Even worse than that. Wow, that's a freaking nightmare. I think that sort of makes that a reality. That's something that somebody would kill somebody to keep from getting out. And instead of he was probably controlling, and he was just sort of, I mean, one thing that's a reality out there is a lot of times people don't want to date somebody that already has a kid because there's just a lot of issues. But in a case like this, maybe that's the reason he wanted to date her, because he knew. I mean, who knows, right? But Jesus. So the aunt took Jennifer and the baby to the hospital. They were kept there overnight while tests were run. Before they were released, the treating physician told Jennifer and her aunt that it appeared Adrianna had an infection, usually only seen in sexually active adult female patients. Her aunt returned her and the baby back to Joey's house. Wow. Jennifer called her mom and told her about the ER visit. Her mom encouraged her to take her to a follow-up appointment to the pediatrician. Jennifer agreed, and later that day, her grandmother took her to the appointment. So the lady that ran for sheriff. The pediatrician said the rash and infection could be related to being in a wet diaper for an extended period of time. Okay, so maybe, I don't know, that gave her the out. After Jennifer was back at Joey's home, she called Kathy and asked her to make what is known as butt butter for the rash. Kathy agreed. Butt butter, is that something like a local deal? Kathy met Joey. Okay, so Jennifer's mother met Joey. Jennifer and Adrianna in the parking lot. So Kathy met Joey, Jennifer, and Adrianna in the parking lot of a local pharmacy that evening. According to Kathy, Adrianna didn't look good as she wanted to go with her grandmother. Kathy told her that maybe they could see each other that weekend. She buckled so that Adrianna really wanted to go with the grandmother. Probably scared of somebody over here. Joey. She buckled her in the car seat and said goodbye to her daughter and granddaughter. Kathy didn't hear from Jennifer until the following evening. Alright, so Kathy didn't hear from Jennifer until the following evening. And that was around 9 p.m. So there's all this stuff going on right before. I mean, this is really... I don't know why the police weren't just way into this early on. As soon as you tell them, hey, listen, this is what was going on. Look at this, look at this, look at this. She told her mom that Joey's mom was yelling at her. Okay, so around 9 p.m., Jennifer called. She was upset. She told her mom that Joey, the wacko boyfriend, his mom was yelling at her. Adrianna wouldn't quit crying, and her son, Joey, was acting like a dad to a child that wasn't his. Kathy could hear yelling and Adrianna crying. Wow. So that's them right there. Jennifer spoke to her aunt and father on Thursday, March 25th. So I guess that is the next day then, right? So Jennifer spoke to her aunt and father on Thursday, March 25th, 2004. Her father reportedly heard a woman in the background. Her aunt left her a key at the house in case Jennifer wanted to stay there, but no one in the family heard from Jennifer again. What time of day was that? Her boyfriend Joey had been working construction that week with Jennifer's cousin in Franklin County, Kentucky. The two had been carpooling because Joey's truck was in the shop. On Thursday, March 25th, while on the job, Joey, the boyfriend, received a phone call. According to reports, he told his supervisor he had to leave for a family emergency. Jennifer's cousin drove him home sometime at noon. So that's something's happening with Jennifer at his house, and maybe the mom, I mean, that's kind of weird, right? I mean, now the mom of Joey is a little strange, so. The rest of the timeline before Jennifer and Adrianna's disappearance is as reported by Joey Benton's statement to the family and the police. The statement changed with additional details over many different conversations, but ultimately this was Joey's account. At around 9 p.m., he took Jennifer, so he rushes home at noon, but then for some reason around 9, he took Jennifer and Adrianna to the Food Value in Cross Plains. Yeah. Is that still called that? Or let's see. Yeah. People do that all the time, Zozo. They always say, oh, yeah, God, why didn't they just leave the guy? But, it's not that's what the problem is. When you're in abusive relationships, They, you know, it's just it's a crazy control situation where somehow, I mean, we see it all the time, right? So you might always think, well, you could just do it, but you don't know that, right? You don't know if you could do it. The Piggly Wiggly. Okay, Piggly Wiggly. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. That was in another case earlier this year. So he says he dropped him off here. And what was it called before? It was food value. All right. So this article's pretty good. Good job, the murder squad. Around 9 p.m., he took Jennifer and Adrianna to the food value in Cross Plains. He said Jennifer went inside to use the phone since she didn't have her own. When she returned to the car, she asked him to take her to the Exxon at exit 112 on Interstate I-65. So what is that called now? Do you guys have that one figured out? Actually, is there a gas station? Is it up here? No, what did they say? It was at the exit 112 on exit 165. I guess it's hard to know what exit 112 is. Let's see. Maybe it's that Shell station that we had. But is it? Maybe it's the Shell station, though, right? I mean, usually gas stations stay gas stations. Yeah, the Piggly Wiggly was from the Brian Laundrie, you know. Okay, almost exactly where the pin is. I was just guessing it was that one earlier. I just want to see if that's 112. Hold on. Looks like it is. I can kind of see it. Now it says 108. See, 108's right there. But he's saying it was 112. What's this one? Hold on. Yeah, I think it might be this one right here. Looks like I can see a 1 in there. Maybe. I just want to see it. Maybe I'm going the wrong direction though. Hold on. Yeah, it's the other direction. Hold on. It's not that one. So I was thinking it was like after that, what we were just hearing, I was thinking it was right here. After we just read that, because that's right next to the house. Yeah, so that's exit 112. And there's probably a gas station right in here at one point, I would imagine. Do you know which one? Like right here, is it in this picture? Like one of these? Or maybe right there. That looks like maybe that's what it was, right? We'll just put something there. Exxon, right? Either way, yeah, so it's, okay, it is that spot. All right. Well, what's interesting is sometimes you go down to Street View, because that's where it would have been. But you could actually go to Google Maps and put it in there, and you'd probably still see it there because they probably have a 2007 or 8 Street View, and you'd see it, but it's not really a huge part of the story other than he just claims that. It's weird too, because you guys lived right there, a straight shot. You actually could drive by it every time you got onto the freeway where you guys lived, right? But she lived over here with him. So why would you drop her off here? You could just take her home. It doesn't even make any sense. All right, so when she returned to the car, she asked him to take her to the Exxon at exit 112 on Interstate I-65. Joey said they waited 10 minutes for another car to arrive. Right. He described the car as an older four-door white vehicle. According to what he told Kathy, the car pulled up next to them. Jennifer and Adrianna got out and entered the back seat of the other car. He couldn't tell how many people were in the car or who they were. Joey said Jennifer came by the house without Adrianna the next day. She asked him for her tax refund money. Jennifer didn't have a bank account, so her refund had been deposited in the family checking account. Joey told Jennifer she'd have to come back because his parents weren't home to give her the money. I don't believe any of that. None of that's true. Law enforcement did try to verify the drop at the Exxon with surveillance footage, but the gas station recorded over their footage every 24 hours. Well, see, there you go, law enforcement. You should have taken it more. I mean, I guess it was called in the next day, but I mean, you could have got right out there. There was no footage to view Jennifer's, and what a ridiculous thing to record over every 24 hours. Wow. Jennifer's mom, Kathy, went the next step and spoke to the woman who was working during this time. The cashier knew Jennifer. She told her mom she didn't see her or the baby that night. The cashier was also certain if Jennifer had been there, she would have said hi. Then Jennifer's family and law enforcement tried to verify the phone call made at the food value before she supposed Exxon drop-off. The cashier said they locked the doors at 9 p.m. Good job, family. You sound like better detectives than the ones that you had working on it. The employee also said she had to run back in the store to grab some sodas she left inside. Let's see. The cashier said they locked the doors at 9 p.m. The employee also said she had to run back in the store to grab some soda she left inside. At no point did she see Jennifer, the baby, or Joey. Okay, she's just talking about herself, but she never saw them. The manager of the store also interviewed. He told Jennifer's aunt that there were 2 phones she could have placed a call from inside the store, but the manager told her aunt that no one came inside to use the phone that night. Finally, the bagger at the store was also interviewed. He did not see Jennifer either. Law enforcement attempted to do welfare check on Jennifer and Adrianna at the Benton residence. When they arrived, Joey was home alone. Okay. Joey was home alone. He wouldn't allow officers to enter. Wow. His parents were not home, and Joey told the officer he would need a warrant to enter the home. I mean, that is incredibly suspicious right off the bat in a missing persons case. Right? I mean, that is a terrible red flag right there, especially when it's you have a missing little toddler and everything, and you want to go in there to look around to see if there's any clues to help find where they went. And you're going to, nope, you can't enter without a warrant. Thank you, Paula. They returned the next day. The officer noted, so he said that he would need a warrant to get in there. They returned the next day. The officer noted he didn't see any guns despite being told they were present. But this wasn't a welfare check. This was a welfare check, not a search. Law enforcement was trying to find Jennifer and Adrianna, not searching the home. See? The case remained a missing person file until 2013. At that time, Bill Holt was elected as the new sheriff of Robertson County. He vowed to solve Jennifer's case and reclassifies it as a homicide. He also brought in the TBI for help. According to law enforcement, they searched the Benton property 4 times at this point. The searches included draining a pond. There was an additional search just a few months ago. Something was found on the search, but the details of the item or items is unknown. Currently, no one has been seen or heard from or Adrianna. It's actually a little kind of similar, a little also to Bardstown, right? With Crystal Rogers. You know, a lot of like, you got a lot of facts, but you can't really put that one last piece in there. But anyways, Casey, if you want to call in, I don't know if you want, if you call in, it'd just be you on the phone. So maybe you could point out other things to us or whatnot. But if you want to call in on that number right there, I think this case is it's pretty obvious at this point. I mean, I you know, there's no chance that Joey isn't part of what happened to her. There's just no chance of that. There was no white car. There was none of that crap. Okay, none of that stuff happened. Is there anybody out there that would even dare to say, well, Gray, it's possible he dropped, you know, and go through a whole nother scenario? Because at this point, when there's zero evidence of him doing two different things that night, you know, one of them going over to Piggly Wiggly's or Food Value, there's no evidence at all that that ever happened. And then there's no evidence at all that she was dropped off in an Exxon, nor was there a you know, any notice of a white car picking her up. There isn't a chance. Are you gonna, okay. Well, the number is on the screen, so you're probably on the east, so it would be, you know, 929-205-6099, then the meeting ID, 845-2859-6935. And the passcode is 877773. If it doesn't work, I can give you the link for, you know, you can come on live if you want to, like with your face, if that's something you want to do. And it's definitely something I can actually do on here, so. And then a link's probably easier if that's something you want to do. Okay, that's his full name there. All right. All right, let me get the. Okay, here we go. All right, we're going to try the link version. See if it works. I have to do this on the fly here with my. Oh, let's see if it works. So. You in there? Okay, are you there, Casey? I can see that you're muted.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you now, yep. There you go.
Hi, Gray. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you doing? I mean, I know it's not like the greatest topic in the world, but, yeah.
No, I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate everyone following along. You've done a really good job so far, and I like getting to hear how you go about it, and I like the visual.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we just try to, you know, it was great to have that Murder Squad article because they seem to get a lot more information. Can you tell us any things that aren't on there? about what's going on, or things that you know that, or there's probably stuff you know that you can't tell anybody. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just really important to, I know, like you said already, a lot of people are like, why doesn't she just leave him? And I touched on it in your chat. I tried not to be too chatty in there and let you get through everything, but all of this kind of happened over a couple of day span, in March 2004. It happened, from the 22nd to like the 24th. And I know you were kind of saying, is it the 24th? Is it the 25th? And the reason why those two dates come up, the 24th is the last time that my mom ever spoke with her. So when my mom was doing all of the articles and interviews and everything, that date came up a lot. But the 25th is, whenever you lay out the timeline and everything, is the day that we actually believe something happened. So in that article you were reading from, the murder squad, they talked about Thursday he was at work with my cousin and she called him and he had to leave for a family emergency. That's kind of around the time whenever we believe whatever happened was happening, was going down.
Well, what's interesting about that is it almost could implicate another family member too.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
I think you're exactly right. And yeah, so getting to hear your take on it and you being like, oh, wow, potentially his mom, but there's 3 people who lived there in the house. I know over in your chat there was some speculation about, was something happening to the baby? We talked about in the murder squad notes the doctor visit, the ER visit, and the infection that she had. And I mean, there's a possibility that it was the boyfriend. There's a possibility that it was the 2 other people that lived there. We don't know, of course. If we could ask her, we would.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, I guess they said it's possible it was some sort of wet diaper rash, but I don't know. The other doctor seemed kind of like he really thought it was something else. That's why he told them.
Yeah, and I know that someone mentioned, the hospital should have reported it, but I know that it's their procedure to report whenever they actually do like a rape kit or something like that. That was not done that night.
Well, that would have been really important to have done, even though it's a little kid. Even though it's a little kid, I mean, it's like, I don't know. If he suspected that, they should have done some kind of test of some sort.
I agree. Yeah. And so, I mean, obviously after my sister left, it was in her brain. She talked about it with my aunt after the nurse at the hospital told them, that this is not common in a 2-year-old. It's normally in sexually active adult female women. That conversation came up and my mom, was like, take her to the pediatrician. So that's why the follow-up visit the very next day. And you had said, I guess Kathy couldn't get to her to take her. And that's just because after everything happened at our house, whenever she left with him initially, my mom was not allowed over at their house, at her boyfriend's house. So she had to have other family members come and take her to and from their house. My mom wasn't allowed there. So there's just kind of like this tension between our family and his family at that point in time.
Well, what do you think the yelling was about in the background from the mom of Joey?
Well, my mom talked to her on the phone, and there was yelling outside of Jennifer's door, and the baby wasn't in the room with Jennifer whenever my mom was on the phone with her. So she could hear yelling outside the door, and, my mom asked her what's going on, and she said, well, we've been fighting all night. His dad got in my face. His mom has been telling me what a horrible mother I am and threw our dinner on the ground out the back door. And she was supposedly mad that Joey was in the room with the baby. She had her own room doing the sleep training thing. And Jennifer, I know you hadn't heard of sleep training, but I mean, I do this personally. It's hard for me to not want to bring my kid back in bed with me. So that's how Jennifer was. She would just want to stop her from crying and bring her back in their bed. And Joey could withstand the crying. And so he would go in there to help the baby go to sleep. And he wasn't her dad. So his mom, that's her little baby boy. And she's like, he shouldn't be in there with the baby. And she even made some kind of weird comment about that's the kind of thing Michael Jackson is in trouble for. That was right around the time everything was happening with him. So that was a really weird comment, and that stuck out to my mom. But
I mean, his mom said that?
Yes.
About her
mom.
own kid? I mean, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, she was just saying he shouldn't be behind closed doors with a 2-year-old. But yes, it's a very weird comment.
Well, that almost sounds like the mom knew something was going on.
It sounds that way. I think she was just mad that her son was, playing dad to a kid that wasn't his. And I don't know, I've lived with my boyfriend and his parents before as well. Whenever that many people are under one roof in this very small house, it was just a small ranch, 3-bed, 2-bath home. There wasn't a lot of space for them to spread out. And I think things just started to get really tense. There was some jealousy between his mom and Jennifer.
Well, what was the reason he gave that he had to rush home from work at noon, 12:30 or whatever that was?
Believe it or not, Gray, this reason for having to rush home, that has never come up as far as in his statement. As far as he's concerned, in his statement, he dropped them off at a gas station and no one saw them again. And the only reason we know about what was reported in the Murder Squad article is because my family went and talked to the foreman on his job that day and found out that he left. That is the only reason that we know that he did in fact leave. So we don't know his reason for leaving that day.
Do you have a more description of what the foreman said? You have the really specific, how he described it?
Well, I know that my cousin drove him to and from work, so I don't know exactly what the foreman said. I just know that he said he got a phone call and had to leave early for a family emergency. And then my cousin said that, who was also working on that same job, that Joey just walked up to him and said, "We got to go right now." And then they left.
So he was a little bit frantic almost.
Yes, it was we have to leave right now. And then my cousin supposedly, who was his best friend at the time, did not ask any questions. I've talked to him recently, and he just said, it was kind of guy code back then, don't ask, don't tell. It's not my business. If you want to talk to me about it, we'll talk about it.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, that whole guy code, that's not guy code is when if he knew that he was cheating on Jennifer, he wouldn't tell Jennifer. Right. But the guy code isn't hey man, we gotta go really quick, and you get in the car and you go, in your mind, I'm not going to ask him why he needs to go because we're guys and I don't want to. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. You might want to ask your cousin a little bit more. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Okay, somebody would have. I mean, he might not have told him, but I'm just saying, using guy code as an excuse that doesn't work too well.
I do not disagree with that.
Yeah.
I really feel and he says he wishes he would have asked more, not just on Thursday, but even on Friday. You read part of that Blue Crime Hunters blog, and his dad had written in there that they had a party that night, and he was drunk. Well, my cousin was at that party. And he says he wishes he would have asked more questions then, because this is the first time Joey tells a story that she was off with a friend. He did not tell my cousin, I dropped her at a gas station yesterday. He just said, oh, she went to a friend's house. And so there's multiple times where he's like, I wish I would have asked more. And he sounds regretful, but I mean, they were really close friends then. And quite honestly, our family has had a huge divide in it, and I've only recently started talking to him since I picked the case back up last year.
Are they still friends?
No. Actually, I would say that Joey doesn't really have any friends anymore. Most everyone that I've talked to now no longer speaks to him and doesn't want anything to do with him. They really all believe, his closest friends anyway that I've talked to, that he had something to do with it or knows.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is that the part that, gives him a little bit of an out in terms of being the one who actually did something is that he rushed home really quick. It almost seems like something happened to, that it's possible that something happened to Jennifer and Adrianna at home, and they just told him, or they were saying, or like she was about to leave, she was packing up her stuff, and then he rushed home. But I guarantee it that more than one person in Joey's family knows exactly what happened.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I believe. And I'm unsure if anyone outside of Joey and his parents knows anything. Of course, I'm trying to find out, but no one has shared anything of substance with us. So, it's kind of discouraging to get 18 years into this and feel like only the three of them know. And they all, I know someone asked in your chat earlier, they're like, well, where's Joey today? He still lives at home in that same house with his parents. And he's a 40-something-year-old man. He never moved on past this.
Yeah. Huh, man. It just seems like it's got to be related to, what was going on right at the end there. That hospital visit probably led to, some crazy conversations between them at the house. But again, it's still weird that he rushes away. See, if it was really neatly planned and everything like that, doesn't it seem like he would, he wouldn't even have gone to work, or he would have gone to work, and things would have happened before he went to work, so it just seemed like a normal day at work. Instead,
Right.
There's a moment where it seemed unscripted, where he had to rush home from work knowing that somebody, they're aware that that's happening, and that would be part of an interview that, it seemed like, and then he rushes home. So was she leaving or threatening to do something? And then he comes
Right.
home and, what do you think?
What was the reason for the rush, right? That's the question that we want answers to.
Well, yeah.
And so I guess here's a part that's not in the articles that you've read. My mom actually spoke with Joey, after they disappeared, asking him, where are they? What happened the last time you saw her? So, she's like, you came home Thursday, and he says whenever he gets home that Jennifer and Adrianna were locked in their bedroom, locked in a bedroom. And then they went for a ride to talk about things, he says. And then they decided to break up, and they came back to his family's house. And Jennifer she refused to go back into their house. She didn't want to be in their house anymore. She had been asking him to move back into this barn or shed that they lived in before it got really cold in the winter time, and had to move into his parents' house. So she was wanting to move back into that because it was starting to get, springtime. And apparently, according to him, she refused to get out of the car and go in. And then she just said, take me to the gas station. And that's where his story starts. So that's what he says happened. That's what he told my mom happened whenever he got home on Thursday.
Well, so how were they locked into the room?
I am not sure. That is
I don't
what
believe,
he
well,
says
it's hard to
is-
believe anything that he's saying there.
I know.
But I guess it's possible. Well, the part that's, the thing is, it's hard. I hate speculating on somebody that's has a reason to lie, But
Right.
I think it's probably true that she wanted out of it, but he probably didn't want to let her go because he couldn't control the story anymore. Now Adrianna can tell the truth to her mom and everybody else, and then he'll be charged with, if if that is what happened, the sexual assault of a 2-year-old, and then he'd go to prison, and he'd be absolutely, he'd get killed in prison for doing something like that. So,
Right.
you know,
So yeah, that's a potential, is the assault part of it from the hospital visit, you know, and then there was the fighting with his mom and his dad on that Wednesday night, the last night my mom talked to her. They were all kind of fighting and not getting along. So I've also thought about potentially, you know, just tensions being high and like between Jennifer and his mom, and and she was potentially home that day because her dad heard a woman's voice in the background on their phone call whenever he talked to her on Thursday. And so it makes me believe that his mom was home, and so I'm like, why did Jennifer call you and you have to leave for a family emergency? Was something happening between Jennifer and his mom, or was his dad home at that time and something was happening with all three of them? I'm not for sure.
So in this case, did he say that he was locked in? Like they were locked in the room on their own? Like they decided to lock themselves in?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
yes,
so it is the same as the Maya Millette case. Okay. But that was actually in 2004. But like the Maya Millette case has, in that case, that's more, like the last 2 years. That's what the husband claimed, that she locked herself in the room. And then but she's ended up missing, and he's been charged with murder as well, without even a body. So hopefully you guys can get to the same place.
Yeah, we're definitely hopeful. There are some things like at the end of the Murder Squad article you saw. We did get invited by some of his family members late last year. It was actually in the beginning of fall last year. This is kind of what started me picking the case up and investigating it really on my own and starting over from scratch. But his family members reached out to me through Facebook and said, hey, we've got this family thing going on. Would you like to come and search the land? And all of his family members kind of live back there on Owens Chapel, where you put the little markers. So they all live back there, and there's a road that's kind of at a four-way stop. It's Wells Road, and they all live back there, right there on that road. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they all live all the way down this road. And
but let me ask you something. What I mean, so after they knew that you were back onto the case, that's when they reached out to you?
No, vice versa. Like they reached out to me, and then because that opportunity opened up, we put a search in place. So it's a private search. It was not law enforcement sanctioned. But we put it together because we were invited and we did not have to have a warrant. But we searched 51 acres. It's that huge kind of wooded rectangle right there, Wells Road, and up to that pin. But we were not able to get on his parents' little 6 acres where your pin is up there. So we searched the 51 acres, took cadaver dogs out there. The Q Center helped us. There, I think we're like 9 or 10 handlers and our dogs. And we did hit on human remains back behind his grandparents' property.
So is it right here? All of this, like if I went up here, see where my mouse is moving?
Closer to Wells Road.
Like
it's
right
kind
here?
Of like
right here?
Down at the, So like right there is kind of the corner.
So if I went like this, that property right here?
Yep. It's that big kind of rectangle right there. Yep.
Okay, let's see what that says.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of acres, just a second. Square. Oh man, it used to have it on. Oh, there it is, acres. That's what I have is 69 acres, but yeah, it's close enough, I guess.
So we're getting close because there's 6 acres in there too that closer to Owens Chapel where your pins are, where they have where your pin is the house where they were living at the time, and then where that little clearing is right beside it, they built a new house. And there's a lot of speculation that they could potentially be buried under their new house, concrete.
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm wondering. Well, what I'm wondering is, was there any construction or anything done just prior to all these family members saying, "Hey, come back over and search around"? I mean, because it could be. I mean, I don't want to cause any problems, but it could be that they're all aware. Okay, is everything safe now? Did you move the bodies? And then they go, "Come on out and check. Come out and check now."
Right.
I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, why would those family members break ranks with the other family members?
There was.
Go ahead.
there was a reason. They're going through some family stuff, and it's to our benefit.
Yeah, well,
So of course that's why we're not able to get on their 6 acres. They're not going to let us get on there. They'll do anything to keep us from getting on their property. But we did search the 51 acres, and like I said, we hit on human remains, and that's what was at the end of that article. Potentially Jennifer and Adrianna were there at one time. We did have GPR equipment, which that's ground penetrating radar equipment. We had that out there, and there was kind of like a mass, and we were able to, look further into that, get soil samples and things like that. There's just so many different, I guess you could call rumors about how they would have been disposed of. And so we're looking into all those kind of different ways and if it's related to what the dogs picked up on out there. So that's kind of our most recent activity.
But is there some information, like technical information that you guys know that you can't? I mean, I'm not asking you to tell me it, but I just want to know, is there a bunch of stuff that you haven't been able to tell people that's like technical information, factual information?
I would not say that there's a bunch of information. I would say for the most part, the facts are out there and there's just not a lot. And it's just because those 3 people are the only ones who know. But as far as evidence that's sitting out there, that people don't know that's been found, I mean, if we knew, we would, share. But other than that, no, there's not a lot out there. This case is riding mostly on conversations with people and statements. There's no body, there's no, weapon found or anything like that. I think that it's a very well thought out story.
Yeah, but here's the thing is, it seems like it was, I don't know who did the well thinking out. The rushing home part is sort of throws a little bit of a curveball into it a little bit. Like he rushes home from work. Did somebody at home already do something to them out of like anger, because it seems like the mom didn't like her anyways. And something happened, and then they call, hey, you got to come home really quick. Something happened. He comes home. Then that's where the planning came in. Then they start sitting there after 1, and then maybe in the evening when it was dark outside, he drove her somewhere, and he's thinking, well, maybe they might be on surveillance somewhere, so I got to explain why my car might be out and about, moving around.
Right.
But it seems like when they got home at noon, that's when the planning started for what to do, and they're all together, keeping their thoughts together, so something like that, don't you think? Okay, you do.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it gets a little bit more detailed. I don't know how far you want to go into it. Of course, I've had 18 years to sit here and think about this.
I want the detail. No, we want all the detail. That's more important than anything.
Yeah. So, since I picked back up the case, and I've been, reaching out to like you and Murder Squad and trying to get people to pick it up, I really wanted everyone to get further into the details versus just hearing his story of dropping them off at a gas station, which isn't likely true at all. So, there's really important things. The first is that he made up the story, which you caught on to really quickly. A lot of people don't, that she came back to the house alone on Friday. So being that there was not foul play suspected until 2013 just doesn't make sense. Most of the time you look, the last place that they were seen, or that, that they could actually be physically located, that was that home. He saw them there. It was not at a gas station, seeing them get into a car that he can't identify.
It's interesting that it sounds like he's just trying to, hey, there's proof of life. She came back the next day to get her check.
Exactly.
But the check was never picked up anyways, right? It never...
Right. No, I touched on that in the comments, and then I kind of shied away to let you finish. But his parents did give, it was a $500 tax refund. It was not huge at all. So I don't think anyone wanting the money was a big deal. But $500 check was written to my mom the weekend after they disappeared, and they placed a stop payment on it 30 days later and just said that's their policy to do that. So that's what happened with her tax refund. But the biggest details with the timeline that I can share with you all is Franklin, Kentucky is probably about 45 minutes to an hour away from here. That's where they were working. And he was working with my cousin all week. His truck was in the shop. And his dad touched on that too in the topics forum when you were reading in that Blue Crime blog post. But his truck was in the shop. They had one other vehicle that their entire family used, and that is what the baby's car seat was in. So there's 3 people here that we have to come up with a location of. He's in Franklin, Kentucky. So where's his mom and dad? Well, his mom, confirmed by law enforcement, okay, and I don't know how exactly because I don't have all of their records and statements, but it's confirmed by them that she was at work that day. And her work is in Hendersonville, which is like 45 minutes away.
Okay, so she was at work when he rushed home, she was at work in Hendersonville, right?
Yes, supposedly,
so
yes.
So the mom was. Okay, so how many other people lived at that house?
Just one other person, his dad. And he has no confirmed whereabouts that day. He does not remember where he was that day.
And why was his dad not working that day?
He works for himself and does like contracting and like he does computer stuff online and whatnot. And so he also had court that week. So he and his wife both were in court a couple days that week. It was not this day. His only confirmation of where he was early in the morning. He had a doctor's appointment that morning. That's the only confirmed spot for him that day. But if you're thinking in terms of vehicles, you know, Joey was riding with my cousin to work because his truck was in the shop. There's one other car, and his mom had to have it to go 45 minutes away to work.
And so, the baby seat for Adrianna was in the mother's car then, or what car?
Yes.
Really? Wow. So then I guess, I mean, that even makes it crazier. I mean, how would she have gotten out of there? Did Jennifer have her own vehicle, I guess, or?
Jennifer did not have a car. Joey and Jennifer both use their family vehicles. So either Joey's truck, which the car seat couldn't go into, or their other family car, which his mom was driving to work that day.
Well,
so
that's crazy.
So if you think about like the timeline, whenever Joey gets home, and if that was around noon and his mom is at work, they have no car to go for a ride like he said that they did. You know, so then there's probably like a 4 to 5 hour window until she gets home from work, right? So he can then later that night, a couple of hours later, take her to this gas station. So that's kind of the timeline that I'm working with. And then his dad having no known whereabouts that day is just really troublesome, you know.
So it's most likely that Joey and his dad are the first knowledge of what happened, and then the mother probably found out about it later.
Yes, that's what it seems like to me. It almost seems like either, like you said, something happened, and that's why a phone call was made to Joey to come home. Like, hey, this happened, like, you got to get home right now.
And it's going to be the dad because the mother was at work. I mean,
you know.
Right? I mean, so it has to be the dad that was at home that called. The dad's the one that called Joey to come home, right?
Either the dad or Jennifer. Yes.
Oh, I guess. I guess you're right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Jennifer could have done that.
Right. So if something was happening, you know, the fight continued from the night before when she had talked to my mom and was telling her they were in her face and
but they have cell phone records. I mean, I don't mean to interrupt, but I have to. When I'm thinking, okay. I got to jump in there again. So but they have cell phone records, right? So wouldn't they know that it was Well, all they have is, did Jennifer have a cell phone at the time?
She did not.
Oh, so it would have been a
Nope.
call from the house, and it could have been anybody. Ah, God, man.
It would have been a call from the house.
And it
yeah.
could have been anybody. It could have been
Um,
Jennifer or the dad, and you can't prove it. But if it was her phone, her cell phone, but she doesn't have one, then you'd know. Oh, it was her phone, so it was
Right.
her. But now it could be either one of them again. So man, that's a unfortunate little piece right there.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of what we're piecing together, and it just exactly how you said is kind of how I have it all thought out in my head. Is like he gets called home, then the planning begins. The story begins. Because, and here's something else that kind of happens. We all start looking around for her after we don't hear from her on Thursday. Everyone starts to kind of freak out because she does talk to someone in our family every day. I know everyone says that, but all her family, it's a small town. We all live right there within, 10 miles of each other. So, Friday, the next day, he goes to work again in Franklin, Kentucky, and they get let out early. They finish their job for the week, and it's also, 11 noon. And then everyone starts calling him, Joey, and his parents' home phone and they're not responding to us. And so my aunt, who lives right down the road, on the main road, it's also on the way past our house, like you said.
Owens
that they
Chapel, on Owens Chapel Road? Yeah.
It's not on Owens
Oh, no,
Chapel,
that's their
but
road,
it's on...
sorry. It's on your road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
25.
yes,
okay.
it's on that. It's on 25, but on down towards their house. Back towards their
Oh,
house.
okay.
So...
Like over here somewhere.
Yeah. So right there where your little hand is, right there where that 25 is. If you zoom in, they're kind of right there. Yeah.
That's,
so my
that's
aunt
where the
lives.
ant was? Okay, the ant. Okay. Just somewhere
Yeah.
around here. I don't need to have the exact spot.
It's okay. Yeah, so that's where my aunt lives, and Jennifer actually lived with my aunt for a little bit while we lived in Vegas, and my aunt left a key for her, talked to her on the phone on Thursday, and left a key for her in case their fighting got worse from the night before. So it was, talked about with her too. And so that was the plan. If there was a plan and Jennifer wanted to leave, she had talked to my aunt, and that was the plan. Please come to my house just right down the road. It takes literally less than 5 minutes.
And she, would
and
just
she
walk,
never did.
Like walk there, maybe? Well, how would she get there? She doesn't have a car, so she'd have to...
Well, I mean, he took her to a gas station, supposedly. So if he was going to take her anywhere, she'd be like, take me to my aunt's house. She left me a key.
Yeah.
Right?
He doesn't seem like somebody that's going to take her anywhere if it means that he doesn't get to have her. So,
Control.
Yeah, I mean, so it doesn't seem like he would ever drop her off. Did he ever do that one time where she was upset and he took her and left her with like a family member sometime?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I didn't think so.
No, you're right about that. Yeah. So on Friday, just back to that, I was just showing you where my aunt's house was. My aunt actually got in touch with Joey's dad because they knew Jennifer was waiting on her tax refund. So my aunt and everyone have been trying to get in touch with them. So Jennifer, according to Joey, had supposedly come that morning. If you remember from his story, she had come alone without the baby in that same car that he says she got picked up in. So that morning, he said, my parents aren't here. You're going to have to come back another time. She said she'd come back the next day and never did. Okay. But his dad that night on Friday, the same day that she had come by looking for it, called my aunt and said, I heard she was looking for her tax refund. We're trying to give it to her. So I just found it really strange that she had come by earlier that morning, according to Joey, and he said, you're going to have to come back. She said, I'll come back tomorrow. But his dad still reached out to my aunt wanting to give her her tax refund when she had already said, like, I'll come back tomorrow. So they should have just left it at that. But
They didn't keep track of their two different stories.
No, they didn't. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out too. So when I say details, I've put just so much thought into it. So yeah, they didn't keep track. So it's a well thought out story, but
well,
no,
here,
I agree they didn't.
Dana Dane in the chat had a good question. She said, how did the dad get to the doctor's appointment? Did he have his own vehicle that was not, you know?
No, there wasn't another vehicle. The only thing that I could think of, because I know someone was there with Jennifer in the house, because she stopped in the phone call with her dad on Thursday and said she got interrupted by someone, and she said, "Stop, I'm talking to my dad." So he knows for sure someone was there with her, and I know his mom has been confirmed at work, so that just leaves him as
Wait,
the
what
only
call
other
is
person.
that? What call is that? I don't remember a call where she talked to her dad.
There were 2 phone calls where she talked to someone on Thursday. So my mom last talked to her on Wednesday night when the fighting was happening. On Thursday, when she was home and the baby was home and Joey was at work,
The
she
25th.
had to.
Right, the 25th?
Yeah, the 25th. So during when he was getting called home almost, or right before he got called home, she had a phone call with her dad. It lasted 2 hours. It was a long phone call.
Wow.
And yeah, and she talked to him quite a bit. He lives in Manchester, Tennessee, so it's south of Nashville. But she told him the same thing about all of the fighting and everything. She even told her dad she was scared, and he asked of what, and she said Joey's mom. And he was like, "Well, why don't you have your mom or your grandmother or someone come get you?" And she's like, "No, Joey's on his
Joey's
way
mom.
home."
That's so weird, because she's the one with the alibi. Because that's the one I was suspicious of a minute ago. And that's the one she was scared of. Man, that's just crazy. But here's the thing: is that there is proof of life on the 25th, though, because now she's talking to the dad. You know what time that was?
It was 11 to. It was a 2 hour, so 11 to 12, 12 to 1.
Well, it couldn't have been. Well, then Well, how could that have been? Because at 12 is when a call went to Joey at work.
It says noon, but we don't have exact times, so it means like afternoon. So a lot of the articles and whatnot, they're not exact, but I know that the phone call was at 11 to her dad, and then I know she talked again with my aunt very briefly right after that phone call with her dad. So that had to have been like around 1.
Okay, but we gotta get this this part, because everything has to make sense of like what we have. So when she's talking to her father, wouldn't that have had to have been around 10? Because then it gets around noon, because a call came from the house to somebody, and there's only one phone in the house that that either Jennifer or somebody else in the house could use. So how was there a call from the house at 12:30 to Joey at work during the time she's on a phone call with her dad?
No, see, I don't have phone records, so when it says noon, it's not an exact time of a phone call to Joey.
Oh, okay. Could have been 1:30 or something. Yeah, okay.
Right. It means like around noon that day, But I do know for sure, because I have confirmed that with law enforcement, that the call with her dad was around 11 o'clock, and I know that it lasted 2 hours.
Man, what is it? I mean, have you ever just really sat with him? And so that's with your dad too, then, or?
No, that Jennifer's technically my half sister.
Okay.
Yeah, so her dad, he lives in Manchester, so.
I mean, has he sat down and told you every single thing that was on that call? Because that call is huge, man. That thing, whatever she was saying.
The call is huge. I know that he's talked to my mom, and I have not spoken with him since I picked the case back up. I've tried reaching out to him. They're very, I guess you could say, behind the times as far as like technology and everything. They don't have cell phones and things like that.
Yeah.
So I've tried talking to them. I just haven't lined that up yet. I really want to get down and see them.
They probably have a happier life too, with not having cell phones and computers and emails all the time. You remember how fun it was when you were a kid, when there was none of that? Well, I don't know. You're not that old. You're not that old, but I remember when I was a kid, it was fun. But, yeah. No, so wow. So a 2-hour call. Okay. So when was the other call that same day to? Because you said she had are the two calls the one to Joey and then the one to the dad? Or is there another call that she made that day?
The two calls are her dad and my aunt. And oddly enough, this has only come up recently. My aunt told us about this other phone call, and she says it was around 1 o'clock that day, and it was very brief because she was going into an interview, a job interview. So she was like, I don't have a lot of time, but, you know, I'll leave you a key. But it was around 1 o'clock. She knows for sure. And I have not confirmed that call with law enforcement. The only call that I've actually seen on a detailed timeline is the first phone call with her dad that lasted 2 hours.
And when do you remember, when did that call start? Like 11, you said?
Yeah, it was around 11. I don't have exact time.
And so I guess there could be a gap between that call and then the call to Joey and then the aunt. There could have been like a little time frame. Or what was her demeanor when she was talking to the aunt? Do you know anything about that phone call?
I don't. I mentioned earlier that we have kind of a divide in our family after everything happened with Jennifer and Adrianna, because my cousin was really good friends with him, and my aunt had a relationship with the Benton family as well. We kind of had a divide in our family, so we've not really spoken with her after that. It kind of got like really tense between my mom and her sister, and you know, she didn't want anyone attacking her son, and thinking that he knew anything more than he was letting on. So we haven't really talked in full detail. I've tried reaching out to her recently, but she won't talk to me. But the phone call with
brutal. Who's she the sister of? Your aunt? Your mom?
She's my mom's sister. Mm-hmm.
And she's gonna sit there and defend the Bentons? I mean, that's ridiculous. This is so obvious. I mean, well, it has to be a little bit, because it's like you should be all for, you know, Kathy's plight. You know, I just don't understand. That's a really weird situation to me. But
you would definitely think she would be more than willing to help, because that's what you expect of family. But I would not say by any means that she is supporting the Benton family or on that side at all. She has no connection with them whatsoever now.
Okay, not supporting them, but she's definitely not doing any, she's not trying to help the situation at all, because her phone call is pretty important. I mean, it's very important. Yeah, there's a lot of people, Gray, that I've been talking to since I have started the investigation that think that because they have talked to law enforcement in the past and given a statement, that there's nothing left that they can do to help. And they may or may not have talked to us at all. So we, you know, being that we can't get copies of statements and records in our file and in our case, because it's still technically open, we can't get phone records, we can't get anything like that to get real detail. And memory comes into play here because it's been so long. There's so many people, including her, that just won't talk to you because they feel like they've already done everything that they can do to help. And we feel like, and I feel like too, which this could be the wrong way to feel, but like, I feel like you should let me ask you as many times as it takes. Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is she taught, I mean, God, the information she has is right at the time where, you know, I guess it makes Joey's call a little bit later than noon. I mean, but like 1 something. But he's coming home right after. Wow. So let me ask you something. So is the cousin that's friends with Joey, is that the aunt's son?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I was wondering.
Yes, okay. And so, yeah, she's gotten upset in the past because, you know, my cousin, he was driving him to and from work. He's a key part in this, as you're saying. And so we're just trying to ask him questions, get, you know, every little bit of detail. Did you see anything? You know, you may not have even known that you were seeing something, or recognizing whose car was at the house when you dropped him off and things like that, and questions we want to ask. But it just became too much for her. She just felt like, you know, what, you think my son is guilty? You think he has something to do with it? Like, it just came to a point where she was just like, leave my son alone. We don't want anything to do with you. We're getting a lawyer.
Why would the son? I mean, he dropped off Joey, but wasn't he back to work in the appropriate amount of time? The cousin?
I'm not sure if he went back to work that day. I mean, it was an hour drive, so I'm not sure if he actually went back to work. But I do know another key part of these conversations that happened on Thursday, the conversation with her dad. She mentioned that she was scared of Joey's mom, and then her dad said, why don't you have someone come pick you up then? And she said, no, it's okay. Joey's coming home. We're going to go on a picnic. So if anyone looks into our case and on our Facebook page and everything, you might see the picnic come up. This picnic never comes up, and I've been told by law enforcement it is not in his statements at all. But Jennifer mentions it to her dad on the phone. He's on his way home. She said, we're going to go on a picnic. So,
wait a minute. So, okay, so at that moment, Jennifer is completely aware that Joey's coming home in a hurry. Right?
Yes. Well,
I mean, it's weird because he's supposed to come for a picnic, or was that supposed to be after work, the picnic?
I am not sure. I'm just trying to piece it all together. I do know from her dad's call that it sounds like she knew he was coming home, like they had some sort of plan for him to come home.
Like right, I don't know if that was... Okay, so right around then, like while he's talking, she's talking to her dad, he's saying, well, Joey's going to be home here in a little bit, type of thing, right?
Yep.
Okay,
and that's what it sounds like to me.
Wow,
yeah.
So, man, this is it just got crazy all of a sudden, because now it sounds like, he's rushing home, but maybe it was like, oh crap, I forgot about our picnic. I don't really know, but he's zipping home. It doesn't sound like there was a panicked call to him to come rush home anymore, because you know what I mean? Like a minute ago we were thinking that maybe it was like he got called and he rushed home, but something had happened to her, and then they came up with a plan throughout the day. But now he's actually supposed to be coming home for a picnic.
Right.
So I don't know. What do you make of that?
Yep. So now we're like, did Jennifer make the call to him, prior to? Did they have a plan before he left for work that day? I'm not sure, where the picnic plan came from. I just know it wasn't in his statement. And then I know the foreman said he left for a family emergency. He could have just told his boss, I gotta go. I got an emergency at home, but he had all along planned to go on a picnic, Yeah,
but
so
hold the thing. The thing is, does it seem like she'd be going on a picnic with Joey? I mean, based on how she was right before that with the hospital visit, and wasn't she wanting out of there, or was she totally okay at this point?
I think that it was all just kind of up in the air before this day. We knew Adrianna was sick. She had some kind of an infection. It was still kind of all playing out. She wasn't like, for sure, I know someone has been doing something to my baby. I can't be here anymore. It wasn't like that. And retroactively now, when we're talking about it, it's like, heck yeah, you should have gotten out of there. But I mean, at the time, she didn't have a car. She was in love with a dude, and it was all kind of playing out, So
I mean, it's in March too. Is it really like
picnic weather?
Yeah. Did you guys ever check the weather that day? Or?
Yeah, I looked up the weather, and it was actually not bad that day.
Okay.
I mean, it did snow. Tennessee weather in March is just so crazy. It can be really hot, cold, snow. But it was actually okay then. So potentially a picnic, and what they mean by picnic, it could just be they're going to grab lunch and sit outside of a Piggly Wiggly or something,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So here's okay, the parts that are confusing now, though, just to throw it in, because a minute ago it was making more sense. It was kind of like, okay, I can see. But now it's like Joey is... The part that don't make sense is that he was called and he sort of frantically was going home for the picnic. And then then they go, let's say, okay, then he goes home. But why would he be frantically driving home to go to a picnic? You know, like that was already planned, that that Jennifer already knew about.
The only thing that I could think and what I've put together when I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, this call, was it an emergency? Did something happen? And then he got called home, or was Jennifer calling him and kind of like, you need to get home right now. You said you were going to come home, kind of thing. And he's rushing home because he's got his girlfriend upset at home that he's not coming home like he said. That's the only thing I could think, is they had planned to go on a picnic to talk about things, the fighting that had been happening and moving out of his parents' house. And she called him, potentially, this is me just speculating and theorizing, but she called him and was like, you said you were coming home,
Okay, that makes some sense. And then something happened after that, I guess. Could have even been later, like, she could have been alive all the way up until the mom got home at this point. Now it's a little different, because at 9 o'clock, he's making an alibi for 9 o'clock. That even gives another, 3.5, 4 hours.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So there's a couple different ways that it can go, and just trying to like narrow down everyone's location and then put everything that he said kind of into a timeline, when a vehicle gets home for them to use to go for this drive that he told my mom that they went on. Where did they go for a drive? Did they take the baby on this drive? And if so, that means the car seat was in the car. And he's saying that she didn't take the car seat. And
yeah, but the car seat was in his mom's car, right?
Right, which is their only family vehicle.
So how would they have gone on a picnic once he was dropped off home? Just out on the property, maybe walking on the property somewhere, just kind of.
Potentially, there's. I mean, it's a bunch of country wooded areas, and then there's a couple ponds close by.
God, the picnic. I don't. It's just throwing a massive wrench into. It's just turned into the picnic mention is like a red herring. That sounds true, but it's one of these details that really messes up a sort of logical, theory. This is all of a sudden the picnic causes a lot of problems.
And remember, Gray, I don't know if you caught this. I said it earlier. The picnic is not in his statement at all. He says in his statement it never happened.
Yeah, except
with law enforcement.
Right, so he never said the picnic happened. However, Jennifer's dad says that they talked about how he's supposed to come home for a picnic. So even if he doesn't say it, it's already something, viable that was supposed to have happened. It's really, really weird. So it's kind of like, okay, so how would that have actually worked? Why he wouldn't have remembered saying that,
Well, and in my brain, I'm thinking, why are you not wanting to tell law enforcement about this picnic? Like, did something happen on said picnic? Is that where everything starts to fall into place? And if we can find this picnic location potentially, or where y'all went, is that where the crime scene happened? I'm just, my brain goes so far. I'm like, okay, where's this picnic location then? And then I start hitting all the points. If you think about him trying to be like, okay, my car, like you said, can be seen out and about around this time. Well, what were you doing out there at that time? Was the picnic somewhere out there along Highway 25 out to that gas station? And then I start thinking of all the picnic locations, and we've done a search, also a private search that my mom put together in 2008 with Kloss Kids. And we searched a ton of locations all over this town that would be considered, dump sites.
But I think there's a lot of spots. I mean, when you say picnic area, I don't think there was ever a picnic. So it's kind of like, he could have put her anywhere, any side road down somewhere, or maybe even on their property somewhere, or, it's just there's a million spots, Well, just looking at the map, I mean, just look at this thing here. You know, I mean, it's, it's ridiculous, right?
I mean, there's a million spots, but I'm just thinking the logic, which I can't make my brain do criminal things, but I'm like thinking about their story that they thought about and put together. And I'm like, why are you trying to make it so your car, if anyone were to see your vehicle out, because remember, this is a small town and people recognize everyone around and their vehicles. You know, if anyone were to see him driving through town, they would be like, oh yeah, I saw him, you know, at the food value. You know, why?
I get what you're saying. I mean, the thing is, if he was the one that said there was a picnic and Jennifer never mentioned a picnic, that's where I would really start thinking like you, like, oh wow, so he wants to, you know, make people aware that he might be driving by some wooded area. It's no big deal. It was a picnic. But in this case, he doesn't mention the picnicking.
That's the opposite.
But she apparently says it. I'd like to know when he, the key part was he supposed to be home, you know, imminently while talking to the dad, or was the picnic going to be maybe at 4, you know, later in the day after work? You know, I don't know what his hours of work were. Were they like 7 in the morning to 3, and he was going to be home at 3:30, at 4 o'clock, and they were going to go? Because then that would make a difference, because then it would be that he left. It's a coincidence that he left in a hurry and they were planning a picnic. He went home because something happened at home, and the picnic was going to be later in the afternoon. So if you can somehow narrow down any, you know, in some way with the dad of Jennifer, what did he have any sense of what time the picnic was supposed to be? That would make a difference, but I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I wish I could narrow it down to the time of the picnic. I mean,
yeah, like
I'm trying to narrow that down, and it's just hard, you know. 18 years later, I wish I could go back and get his mom's work records and talk to other employees that, you know, worked with her at the time, because I don't know how they verified if she actually was at work, you know, and then his dad being at the doctor and things like that, and what time she got home from work. I wish I could confirm all that so I could narrow it down further. Again, we're at the mercy of 3 people knowing all of these answers now. And time is against us now. So much time has passed.
Wow. So, what else did the father say was in the phone call? I mean, it was a 2-hour call, so there must have been a ton of stuff. Anything else you remember from that, or?
Oh, the biggest things is, like, she mentioned the fighting that they had the night before. She mentioned being scared of his mom, and then mentioning the picnic, of course. And then he heard the TV playing in the background, which he says, I believe, are cartoons. And then he says that he hears a woman's voice approach Jennifer. What sounds like a woman's voice approach Jennifer, and she stops in the middle of her conversation and says, "Stop, I'm talking to my dad." So someone was there with her. We just don't know who.
A woman, though. A woman. So, I mean, it sounded like a woman.
He says, yeah. And my mom actually says that his dad has, like, a higher pitched voice, and I'm just like, I don't know. I've never had a conversation with the man, so.
Oh man, everything just, it's just, man, this is another one of those really complicated. It got way more complicated with that whole story with the
picnic.
The picnic. Sometimes I always wish there wasn't something, because it makes more sense. But I mean, you got to deal with what you got. So, you know, I wish it'd be great to actually see or hear an interview with Jennifer's father, to see what he actually remembered or thought at the time, you know.
Right.
I mean, do you guys have a document somewhere where you get the whole interview written down, or?
No, the only documents that I have, and that my mom has. My mom has kept really good notes. So is my grandmother that ran for sheriff. They've both kept really good notes, and I've been able to just scour through those. I have a lot of the old topics forums where Joey's dad was in there posting as himself, which you can post under different names and whatnot in old topics forum, but those are really interesting to go through, and he gives a lot of details in there. And so I have that, notes from my mom, and I have the original police reports and reports that were filed by my mom.
But Joey's dad's comments are hard to, you know, he's just saying what he needs to say if he's involved,
Exactly.
right? So it's not like...
Exactly. Yeah, he does go kind of like back and forth on some things, like Joey's work schedule. You know, he mentions Jennifer packing food, which makes the picnic thing more reality, but he could just be saying that like you're saying. So he mentions lots of things, and I know there's a little bit of truth in lies, so I go through all of it, and I take it as it is, you know, coming from him, but I just try to piece it all together. So that's kind of everything that I'm going off of. And I do have, I know some people have mentioned, and a lot of people talk about the sheriff's department there, law enforcement, and the TBI does have our case. And so I do have a good relationship with our agents that are working on their case now. You know, I think there's been years and years and years where that relationship wasn't there, and it's almost kind of like, it was kind of like a bother. It was dead end after dead end, because you see what we're working with. It's very, you know, it's very difficult to understand and put together. And
it's like counter facts that sort of counter a really good direction that you're going, you know?
Right. Yeah. So imagine law enforcement running into that same thing, right? So I know that they've put a lot of work into it, you know, but there's still things that even I'm uncovering that they, you know, they haven't talked to this certain person and really need to. And, you know, like the foreman on the job, like that's a really important person to talk to.
Did they ever interview her father? Oh, the people that were on the phone with her that day?
Yes, they did. I don't have those statements, and I can't get them.
Oh, you can't get them. Okay.
No, I've definitely requested them, but I get denied every time.
Why though? You're a family member, and it's you know, it's a freedom. I guess it's an ongoing, active case. You know. Yes,
which it really has not been active. You know, they put in that one article you read, which is, I don't know, it may be real people calling in different tips, and sometimes not really them, and they're just calling in to say whatever. But 114 sightings, no way. Like, I don't think that they made it past Thursday, March 25th, 2004. Like, no one cited them, you know. So I know they're working on leads and whatnot, but I'm telling you, years up until recently, whenever I picked this back up and we had that search last August. But now I'm hoping to, you know, just gain more awareness, thanks to you and other people, and just get people talking about it again, and
well, I have to tell you,
talk to me.
Well, I'm really interested in it. I mean, just based on everything you're saying, is there any way, like, we could, you know, you got all those notes. Is there any way to take a look at some of those, or if it's just like a photo, you know, like scan them in or something, or?
Yeah, I have them all.
I mean, is it something that I can look at? I mean, I don't necessarily have to put them all on the screen or something, but it would be, you know, it'd be great to, I mean, if you give it permission to do that, that'd be great, but I'd like to actually go over it. You know, I don't want to be this like, hey, we did a show, great. You know, I mean, like, you're more than welcome to come on here anytime you have something that you want to talk about, or some new thing that we could, you know, try to piece in there, because I think the answer is in here somewhere. It's just kind of this weird mosaic at this point where there's like these things. I think it's pretty obvious you know, that they didn't go to the Piggly Wigglies or Exxon, so that's all just made up stuff. So you can just kind of throw that out. And so after that, you realize that something happened at the house, and you know, how that took place or when is pretty hard. But is that anything that you can do, like share the notes somehow? Or, I mean, you can tell me if it can go on the show or not. I just want to read them.
Yes. What I have, these old topics, forums and whatnot, that they're hundreds of pages printed out by my mom, and in all kinds of not in order. And so I don't have those hundreds of pages scanned in, but I can scan them in.
Is that what did they? So they were writing notes in there, or I'm talking about like the notes that they kept, where like the interviews they had with people and things like that.
Oh, law enforcement
no,
or
my
my family?
Well, your family. You were saying they took a lot of notes and.
Oh yeah, yes, I have quite a bit of those. I have a huge timeline that I put together that would help to go through.
Oh yeah, that'd be great to go through that.
I have.
But by the way, your sister was lucky to have someone like you that is doing this, because a lot of families don't have somebody that puts that much effort in, and your mom obviously.
Yeah, my mom, she worked really hard on this and has been through a lot, obviously. Not just this, but other things, and then losing her her sister and, that side of our family, that's been real tough. And my mom worked on it for a really long time and lost her husband a couple years ago. And then I kind of picked it up, like I said, last year, but she did a really good job, and I'm trying to catalog all of it, and keep it, more organized.
But you have a timeline. Maybe we can do a show where we just go over the timeline and kind of work through that.
Yeah, I can send that.
I mean, you want to come back on again and do that? The timeline?
Yeah.
Or was it that bad?
We can do that.
That wasn't that bad, right? Like a lot of people, Gray, you're so mean. But I don't think so.
I think so.
No, I just, sometimes I need to stop something to clarify something, because all of a sudden, so I'm putting everything together in my head as you're talking and we're working through stuff. And then when something doesn't fit nicely anymore, I have to pause everything and make sure I get that part clarified. And now I'm mad that I stopped on the picnic, because that never got it. Nothing worked after that. It was like, oh God, man, why did he rush home?
That is exactly how we feel.
Yeah.
Trying to work through it all.
How strong is the mom's alibi for being at work? Like literally she's on film sitting there at the office.
I wish I could tell you. The only thing that I have is just literally asking our, detectives, you confirmed she was at work, right? Yes. That's as far as that goes. I don't know if it's a clock in, clock out kind of system. She worked for a hospital in the area, not as a nurse or anything, but kind of administrative side. And I don't know if they confirmed it with phone calls or someone actually saw her, at work that day. I'm not sure. I'm going to send you these. I tried to do a PDF, but it's not letting me send them. I just sent it to you in Messenger.
Okay.
This is my timeline. I gave this to Smoky Barn. The video that you watched of my mom.
All right,
he's
so
kind of
they're in order though, right? I'll keep those, and we'll go do that on a different show.
Yeah, they're in order, and that's kind of, and I put all of my big questions in there, and the things that pop into my brain, well, if he said this, then why this, so we could potentially dive into that on another show and get people's opinions. And I'm always open to theorizing, and sometimes people bring some things up that I hadn't thought of before, so I appreciate going through it with everyone.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be great to go through that, and it'd be great if we get to a point where we can figure something out that's more likely to sort of negate the picnic. I mean, it's funny how that is the one thing right now, because it's everything else made sense. She's at home. And then when we heard about there was a phone call, or two phone calls now, it was one with, so now she's alive and well at home, all the way up until it sounds like even 1 something
It sounds like one something. Again, I have not confirmed that phone call with my aunt. I've only confirmed the first one with her dad for those 2 hours, but still,
Do you think your aunt
it
would
takes
answer
them.
that question? Just something simple like that, like, "Hey, can you tell me what the?" I mean, it's nothing that you do with you guys. We're just putting the timeline. Can you give us the precise time of the phone call you had with Jennifer? Would she do that? You think?
I can maybe ask my cousins to ask her, but I've reached out to her just as friendly as you've just put it, and she blocked me and hung up on me, and every attempt I've made just will not communicate.
Blocking one of her own. What is it? Are you a niece? Yeah, I mean.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
She's my aunt. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's really sad. You know, I think that one day, whenever closure and justice does happen, I think, you know, potentially that relationship could somehow work back out again. But I mean, I'm still in contact with both of her children. I think that there's just so much like past things that I just wasn't a part of because I was so much younger then. But no, I don't think she'll give me any kind of information. She thinks that it's all just like somehow against her or her son in some way.
Man, I'm sorry you're having to deal with those roadblocks too, man. What a jeez.
It's very difficult. And speaking of roadblocks, and I won't keep you going for forever. I could talk about it for forever, but the Friday night, whenever he was at this party, whenever his dad called to give Jennifer her income tax refund, this party that was happening was a bonfire, and they had bonfires often right outside of this barn where they lived initially, and there was a group of people there. My cousin was there, Joey was there, Jennifer was supposed to be there, but my cousin was there and he had a girl there, and then Joey and Jennifer was supposed to be there, and then there was another guy, one of Joey's other really good friends, and he had a girlfriend there. Those people will not speak to me. I've attempted to talk to both of the girls there at that bonfire, and then his other friend, and none of them will speak to me, which I just find really strange.
Well, then now we're going into the I forgot the name of that case with God, it was one similar where there's a bonfire. Let's see. Well, you know what's crazy? You see that what we're looking at on the screen right now? That's actually April 2004. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Like that's right at the. I mean, that's actually within like 2 weeks of when she went missing. This is weird.
So just to the left there, you can kind of see where the driveway is started down close to Owens Chapel, and it goes up in the woods right here, right there. Yeah.
Wells
you
Road.
Kind of see.
Wells Road, right?
Back over to the right over there where you were at.
Oh, okay, over here.
Yeah. Just kind of like midway between where you just were and where you are now. There's a driveway started. That's where they built their new house. And construction was started around the time that the girls disappeared. They had actually...
Oh, right here. This thing.
Sweet. Yeah, there it is.
Wow.
So that actually might be current because you can see their house back in there. So it's weird. I know that Google does some weird stuff. But yeah, that's their new house. So... they had actually started digging like for septic and everything without permits. And there's some documentation and whatnot on that I find really strange too, that they were digging right around the time that the girls disappeared. Yeah, so there's a lot of just really weird stuff that, you know, a lot of details that we could go into.
Where was the barn that they were on this picture here right now? Where was the barn that you're talking about?
It's over to the left of that property that you were just looking at.
Over here then? Over here then, or?
Yeah, so it's not that one. That's actually a house.
That's probably a house too.
Yeah. But there was an entrance to the barn kind of off the Wells Road over there where you were just circling those houses. But the barn is like in the woods.
How come I can't see
You
it
can't.
at all? I mean,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's just like really covered up, but it was not like a big barn. It was like a shed that you can buy at Lowe's.
oh, I see. Yeah.
So potentially it's just
Could it be this
small.
thing here then? Just to the left of the house?
Maybe. I know that it was moved after they disappeared, but it could maybe be that. But I think it was like further in the woods than that, and I know you could get to it from that other Wells Road over there.
Well, that's
And
sort of
that's how
interesting
you.
looking at it like this, because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It almost looks like it's not there anymore. Like there was this little shed thing. I mean, it's moving a little bit, but see how there's that shed right here? And then when you
Right.
go to like the 2004, it might be right there. It might just be so low that the branches kind of cover it up.
That's
Yeah.
what I think, maybe.
Yeah.
There's also a graveyard right there to the right of
Yeah.
that pen and that little house, and there's a lot of rumors and even some people we've talked to that have said that they could be under one of those
I mean,
graves there.
this story just gets crazier and crazier. I mean, look at this. Now there's
Yeah.
a cemetery, everybody. Like
Yeah,
right
and
outside the door of the house that they were living at. Yeah.
there were some recent grave sites at the time that they disappeared as well. So there were some before and after, and it's just, that's one of the hardest things to get done is get a grave dug up.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah, and plus you don't even know. I mean, isn't there records of who was buried there? And you were saying there was freshly dug graves, but were they not able to attribute it to some human that was put in there? I mean, what's going on there?
No, I mean they are attributed, but whether or not Jennifer and Adrianna are underneath that,
No, like there could have been a fresh grave, and then they dig up the fresh grave, put them underneath it, and then put the dirt back on top of it to make it, and nobody would question it, right? Something like that.
Yeah, potentially something like that.
I mean, it's
And
right
a lot
there.
of, it's right there beside their house. A lot of the rumors and that's one of them, you can call it a rumor, but like there's no way for us to prove whether or not that one's true. Getting, like I said, a grave dug up is very difficult to do. But there's a lot of rumors that supposedly Joey, has made up himself and put out into circulation. Some of them just to see who is saying what and if it gets back to him. His friends and his circle of people describe him as very smart and genius and mastermind-ish, and they're very good with computers, and just they describe him like he's smarter than everyone else, he and his dad both. And so when you think about the story that they made up and the way they're putting rumors out there to see who says what and if it gets back to them, the things they're doing are just it's all just out there.
Yeah, so that house that they built, it was built in somewhere between 2004 and 2006.
Yes, so
that's
they
interesting.
started digging for like septic and utilities and everything right at the time that Jennifer and Adrianna disappeared. I mean, it was almost at the same time. I have record of all of that because one of the city officials that goes by and does the permits and everything drove by their house at the exact time and noticed they were digging without a permit. And so of course we were like, well, this is very suspicious, and that guy thought the same thing and turned him in. And so I have all of the dates for that paperwork when they had gotten started.
So that's pretty suspicious. Let's check out the going down to, you can do street view down here. I think it actually, that's not where I was trying to go. Isn't that where he lives?
Yeah, we have a sign down there too. You were like, is this coincidence that we had our vigil at Owens Chapel Church? It was not coincidence. We did that on purpose. They actually
Yeah,
have a sign
I
on
didn't
the
think. I thought
corner
it
down
was
there.
intentional. Is what I thought.
It definitely was.
Yeah, yeah. I thought like, oh my God, right in his face, right there.
Yeah.
So this
And
is it now, right?
Yes, that's it now. Yes, very overgrown.
So they do have a
Yeah.
2009 version here. That's all they go back to, though.
Everything used to be very well kept, including them. And I have some pictures I can send you. Just their properties and them now. Just everything is just, they've gone into like being recluse. You know, people talk about his dad like he just walks in those woods out there, which I find very like morbid, and just like if they were out there somewhere and he's just walking around. But people that know them around there just say he just walks in the woods. Even when we were searching back in August, he came out and interfered. They both did. Joe and Joey interfered with our search and tried to get us removed from the property we had permission to be on.
Wow. Yeah, and a lot of stuff. I mean, it's been a lot of years too. You guys have had to deal with this, all that time, all of this crazy side stuff. I mean, look what happens, everybody.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. You have a missing person, and look at all of the worlds that it destroyed. You know,
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
you know, your relationships with all your relatives. You know, not all of them, but like a segment of your relatives, and then even, you know, the Benton family. You know, their whole thing got destroyed. The lives of 2 innocent people are destroyed. You know, it goes on and on and on. And you never have closure, and you're always, like the feeling you have, isn't it, where you just kind of always feel like there's like something on your shoulders, like every single day when you wake up, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's constant. It's, you know, and my grandmother actually said it after the press conference in the video you showed, and she was, you know, he was like, what does this mean for you? And she said, well, we're not looking for them anymore. But that, honestly, that never goes away. Like if I'm out in public or driving down the road, you know, looking in vehicles, like I could potentially see my niece or my sister and just out there living a life somehow. Now, do I believe that that is what happened in my heart, that she just left of her own accord? I do not. I think that, like I said, they didn't make it past that day. But that never goes away. So like what you're saying, it just continues on and on and on. That feeling of what they could be, you know, that's what you're holding on to, is like, I don't know. Like, am I just completely wrong? Am I just looking at this so wrong and these people are completely innocent? You just can't know. And that's something law enforcement has taught me. Like, they're just like, you know, they know I'm investigating and doing all of this on my own and trying to like piece it all together. They're like, don't get so honed in on one thing that you don't think about other possibilities.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
mean, we always do it over here, but I mean, in thinking this one, it just seems really like, I mean, I know it's easy to get, you know, you get tunnel vision and whatnot, but what else makes any sense at all? I mean, unless you're thinking of like some random serial killer just happened to show up right after, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. So
It doesn't.
you know, I think when they might be saying that, like, don't focus necessarily on Joey, where, you know, it could be somebody else, right? I mean, maybe something like that. If they're not focused in on them, then there's something wrong with them. I mean, that is a weird, that's a string. It would be really odd unless they have some crazy information that completely excludes all of them.
Yeah.
You know,
like you said in the beginning, like nothing that he has said has been proven in any sort of way. You know, so it's always been kind of odd to me that they've never named any persons of interest. And I've talked to them about that recently. Like, there are clear persons of interest here. You know, there's a known last location. There's clear persons of interest. It's just baffling to me. Everyone I talk to, even you know, picking this up today, looking at it really for the first time ish, you know, and being
Well, it
like,
is.
this doesn't make any sense.
The only time
Yeah,
I just actually just put an article in a folder in November last year, but I never even looked at it. I was just kind of, it was just there for me to, as a placeholder. And I never, sometimes I lose those folders. And it was interesting, like, wow, I actually had that one. So I didn't even know who you were. You just sent an email saying, hey, have you looked at this one or something? And I looked it up and, I thought, wow, okay, let's do it. And I didn't even realize that you were the sister. You said it in the title, but the way you worded the email, I wasn't sure.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you having me on so quickly, and I know you've done a really good job with your page and your following, and you were recommended to me, and so I appreciate what you do, and I know that you're helping a lot of people, including my family, and the more people that share and get to know our story and look further into it. I know web sleuths are a thing, and they get a bad rap and whatnot, but that sometimes just hearing that one theory that I need to hear could potentially just piece it all together, and I know there's people out there that say bad things and victim shame, and I'm honestly open to hearing every possibility. Like, I let them say what they want to say, even if it's mean. I want to hear it, because you never know whenever it's gonna do what I need it to do. And so just thank you so much.
I can't let people victim shame, but if you don't mind listening to it on your own, that's great. But when I hear it, I just want to like jump through the monitors, and I just, it makes me angry. Not like, especially like there's cases that I cover where people, they have no theories to think of, so they just turn on the easiest thing to start making up stuff, and I just think it's really shameful and embarrassing as a society that people do that. And so I hope your sister hasn't got a lot of that. I mean, it sounds like she did for a while, at least.
Well, most of it coming from his family. So I see someone's question on there. I don't know if you
I saw some.
So our search, there's still results coming from that, and so I can't share exactly where it is.
Oh, the cadaver. I read that. I was going to ask you that in a minute. Where the cadaver dog hit, you can't say? Okay.
Yeah. And also I really want to get further into what we found, before sharing that and anything getting messed up. So, I can tell you that they did, in fact, I have video of it. It's really cool to see. And the handler that was out there said his dog only hits on human remains and has only ever been trained on human remains. And there were multiple dogs who confirmed it.
Wow. Okay.
And
when was this?
And so that was in August of last year.
And so there's still no results from it? I mean,
again, that was not a law enforcement sanctioned search. So we did that on our own. And so we don't have a lot of, obviously, the same resources that they would have. And we're kind of tiptoeing around. I mean, if you're messing with something that could potentially mess up everything, if you're tampering with it, so we have private investigators and then, of course, a search team and everything that's helping us do that. But I just can't share the exact location of that.
So let me ask you something, though. When you got permission from all the other family that sort of live in that same chunk of land over there, were they able to get onto any of the property that that Joey and his dad and mom owned during that time?
No. No, up there where your pin is, where it says Joey Benton, that house and the one they built, those are sitting on that one where you're at on that pin is 1 acre, and right to the right of it right there is another 5 acres in those woods, and we're not able to search. He actually his dad came out into the woods that day to make sure we did not come onto his property lines. But yeah, they've only ever interfered with any attempt. They've never, and that's the thing. If you're not guilty, like I get it. Everyone always looks at the boyfriend, or something to that accord, but sometimes it may not be. And so if it's really not you, even if you don't get along with us and you hate us because of what happened, you know, when I called the police on them when they were dating on him, you know, do your own search, do your own statements to media, do whatever, because she was your girlfriend. You supposedly cared about her and the baby, and then shame on his parents. Like, a young girl and a baby went missing from your home and you have nothing to say. Like, they have never lawyered up or anything like that. So a lot of people are like, well, maybe they're getting, you know, advice from a lawyer or something. Like, they've not. They're really not doing anything except interfere, and they're not adding anything of value. And I just really don't feel like innocent people do that.
No, I think so many things point to them being involved. I mean, like just not. What was the first thing that they didn't do? They didn't. They wouldn't let him search the house, like go into the house.
Oh yeah.
Right away.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so it's right away, and then all this stuff here blocking people from coming on. I mean, here's the thing: if you didn't have a body on there, wouldn't you think it'd be great if they came in there?
Right. Yeah. I think that, you know, probably the first night that they came on there to do the welfare check, you know, whenever my mom reported him missing or whatever, and he went over there and was told, or the officer went over there and was told, you need to leave, you can't come in without a warrant. His parents weren't home. But, you know, police didn't get in there, actually in the house, until it was Sunday, I believe. And so that's a 4-day gap.
They could have done anything.
When I believe something happened, you know, on Thursday, midday, because we know she had those 2 phone calls, to Sunday, whenever they actually got in there. It may actually be Monday. It's in my timeline, but there's 4 days of when they could have moved anything, cleaned anything up, covered anything up. And that's why in that one statement or article you read, the first officer went in. They weren't doing an actual search. They were just doing welfare check, but he noticed there were not any weapons around, but was told they had a ton of them. My sister had told my mom at one point, like, there was a weapon in arm's length, no matter where you were at in that house.
Wow.
So this was, so this officer, you know, knowing that, going in there and doesn't see them anywhere, that just tells me it's been cleaned.
And then you also have all the other things, like when, you know, the phone calls, you know, you were talking to 6 months before she went missing, he was threatened to kill all of them. And you have all these other, and then he was scared, and she was like really scared of the mother. And remember, the mother was one that, what was the thing that the mother, Joey's mother, did prior to that? Also, that was already kind of suspicious, where... now I can't remember. Well, see, that's why I was thinking it was the mother, because of something else that had happened.
Well, she was, all of his friends and everyone that we've talked to after the fact just said Joey and his mom had this really close relationship, like an oddly close relationship. Like Jennifer mentioned at one time, like, she would dry him off with a towel, like, after his bath. Like, he was 23 years old. You know, just weird things like that. Like,
almost like Animal Kingdom. You ever watch Animal Kingdom?
No.
Well, it was a show on TNT, but it's like this, you know, this mother that was running. She's not alive on the show anymore, but when she was just kind of oddly close physically. You know, it was kind of a weird situation with their own kids. You know,
that's how I would describe what we've been told about their relationship. So they just said, you know, she was just kind of like very territorial about her son. You know, and so here's this young girl coming in here. They're getting pretty serious. She's living with them as a baby. He's playing dad. I think there was just kind of like, they just kind of butt heads, like, you're taking my son kind of thing. So I know that was there.
No, I think that
and
was
then
it.
And they were fighting, you know, on that Wednesday night. I know a lot of the articles say Jennifer was having a fight with her boyfriend, and she was not.
That was it. It was a fight. That's what I remembered. So it was it was the fight on Wednesday night with the mother of Joey.
Yes.
And what was that about again? That was just about the situation with the...
Yeah, I think it was just about the situation, Jennifer not wanting to be in there. She wanted to live in this barn instead of living there in their house. And then, his mom being upset that her son was taking care of a baby and a girl, in their house. I think that was it. She was really attacking Jennifer.
Why do you think she wanted to live in the barn over the house? Just because the mom was in there?
Yeah, I think she just wanted out of that situation. I think when they lived in the barn, it was kind of like fairy tale-ish to her. She didn't have much. She didn't have a car, didn't have a phone, young mom, no job. She's living with this guy all shacked up, and they're getting real serious, and it was real nice out in this barn before things got really cold, and they had to move in with his mom and dad. And I think things just got really tense, and she's just like, I don't want to be in here anymore. I want to go back out there where things were good, That's just kind of my take on it.
Man. It's just, man, I mean, I go through these scenarios in my head because it seems like it's got to be related to what just recently happened at the hospital with Adrianna, and, maybe something that Jennifer said and sort of set something in motion, in I don't know whose mind or whatever. Man, it just... Because if she leaves, here's the thing: if it turns out if there was sexual assault by Joey's dad or Joey somehow to this 2-year-old girl in there, it's going to destroy them. They're going to be put in prison, so that information wouldn't be allowed to make it out of the house.
Right.
So I don't know if they were ever, as soon as the assault was determined, well, we don't know if it was determined, but as soon as there was an allegation of an assault, and if it was real, they weren't ever going to be able to leave. They would never have left.
Right.
They could never be able to leave that house. Like if the doctor had never said anything, it's kind of strange, because it could be that if the doctor had never told Jennifer and Kathy that there was possibly an assault, because this infection she has only happens in sexually active people, she might have actually still been alive today. I mean, that's what's so weird about that whole thing.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. Yeah, if that is in fact what happened, and a lot of people in your chat's been saying motive, that's what law enforcement's looking for, in any crime. There's got to be something that makes someone snap, and that would definitely do it. So that's definitely one of the contenders.
That's it's just a theory, of course, but I'm just saying.
Is this how it played out, kind of thing?
Yeah, and if it does turn out to be that, then it's weird that the doctor doing the right thing might have led to, what happened. Like if they didn't know that, there would be no proof, but he'd always have to be watching the kid before she got to an age to say something. That's if this was even what it was. That's what it sounded like the doctor was inferring, though, doesn't it? So
it does, yeah. Of course, there's no way to know that now. And then the pediatrician follow up, it kind of throws all of that out the window. Not completely, but her saying it could have been from a wet diaper, then you're like, oh, okay, maybe not then, so you just kind of bounce from theory to theory,
Yeah, see, that's the part, like, if that was a corroboration, it would have made a huge difference. And that's just, it's that incident right there was one of the other similar ones I couldn't remember, but to the picnic. It's like, you had something, and oh, boy, there you go.
Yeah, it's definitely definitely all over.
Yeah, I can see why it is the way it is. It's pretty it's something you definitely think about a lot, all the different theories and angles, and but I can see why you can have so much to say. There's probably so much more that'll pop into your head later, but let's just maybe we can do we could try to do something somewhat regularly for a while, just to get everything out there if you want. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm open to anything and everything. So I'd love that. Maybe we could go over the timeline after you look at it and get some of your questions, and we can go over it. And of course, I'll answer anything the best that I can with the information I have.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking your time. I know we were on here you've been on here for, gosh, I don't know, almost 2.5, 3 hours maybe. But I appreciate you coming on, and I'm sorry you're having to go through this. I mean,
Thank you.
Crappy, but I'm glad that you're doing it. So
we're gonna keep pushing, and I am hopeful for justice. I feel like we're getting closer to it. I honestly do, and so I'm just gonna keep going. I have people reach out to me every day because of me pushing on social media that either have been holding on to something that they don't know if it's going to help or not, and so I'll just continue on. So yeah.
All right, well, I'll check out the timeline, and then we'll set something up to come back on and go over that. All right,
sounds good, Gray. Thank you for having me, and thanks for doing this for Jennifer and Adrianna. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Hope we get some answers. All right, have a good one.
Yeah,
bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right. Well, wow, that was really interesting, and it's also one of those ones where it's like, oh man, we almost had it, and then it's like, oh, something gets in the way. Yeah, hopefully the police have it more dialed in, like in terms of like they can push past a couple of the things that get you stuck. So, anyways, that was really great, and I think I'm gonna get off of here pretty soon. 3 hours and 43 minutes. And thanks the Velvet Army for the PayPal, very generous again, thank you. And also Paulette Leonard and Sharon Lancaster, Just a Friend, and Charleston Amy on there. And let me see if this works over here, and maybe we'll donate some more money to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children here in the next day or so. I mean, the end of the month is coming up anyways, but maybe we'll just wait till then and do everything on the final night. But what do you guys think of that? Wasn't that crazy? Man, I didn't have any idea it was that complex. We get to the Murder Squad article, that's when there was like, oh, okay, this is a little more, and then it just got crazy when Casey came on there. So, and thank you, if you're still out there, Casey, thank you very much. Very interesting. So she did send me like 9 different printouts of a timeline, so I'll put those in a PDF file myself, and I'll send you back the PDF file so you have one. Then I'll take a look at it. I mean, hell, maybe the freaks could go over it, then have her come on and go over it. That way we're all on top of it. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. So thank you to Eugenie, Crystal, a.k.a. Beaver Gaming sub Crystal. Hey, and it was great to see Stacy on here tonight. Do you guys see that? I mean, almost the whole show. It was awesome. And then Gil, Mike S., Colin Pendleton, Charleston Amy, Kathy Freidenmaker, Amber Maiden, Candalee Woodward Stone, LM, Cindy Leon, WNC Granny, Plato, Gwendolyn B. Yeah, maybe like on on donation night we'll send like 500 more, maybe like 500 more to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And Sue Tonorelli, then Claudia Neubauer, Timothy Cecil, Freebird Forever, WNC Granny, Sammy, Paula Durbin, Fishing in the Dark. Oh, by the way, everybody, Fishing in the Dark, she just got married this week, right? Are you still out there fishing in the dark? It's probably kind of late over there. but I should show you guys the wedding pictures. I'll send you. I'll show them to you tomorrow. They're exactly what you'd think. It's awesome. Like they live in Alabama with a bass like farmers, and that's exactly what this is, man. It's the greatest. It's probably the greatest picture you'd ever see. It's they're both wearing overalls, and they're just it's the greatest. it's awesome. All right. Anyway, so fishing in the dark. LM, MM, Amber Maiden, Alley Cake, Sleuthin Sandals, MM, Jen H, Plato, Amber Maiden, Eugenie, Gil, Charleston Amy, and WNC Granny. Yeah, I don't know where fishing in the dark is. I'll send her a message, though. I'll ask her if I can show you guys the picture. But, yeah, it's pretty cool. So, all right, everybody. Actually, I got to do a spin. So, got that. Well, I bet we'll spin for a everything mug tonight, okay? How about everything mug and one notebook? There we go. All right, so this combines last night too, so it looks more, but there you go. All right, shovel, 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 shovel. There we go. Well, actually, I guess since we're combining last night, I'll do 2 notebooks and an everything mug. Okay, so the first spin is for the everything mug. I can't remember who asked me to want it. They wanted me to spin again, but no, I can't remember. Okay, here we go. Oh, look at that. The Velvet Army. I don't know, man. You want this one? The everything mug, the Velvet Army? That's pretty good. Or do you already have that one? Well, you can already just watch the videos to go over the Dyatlov Pass. You don't need to. We already went through the whole thing. Okay. There we go. And you might do it again because I did it differently, your name differently on the next one. So if you win again, I'll take that one off. Look at that. It's Charleston Amy. Charleston Amy, you won the everything mug. Do you need that one? Or you can pick a different mug if you want it. There isn't any new information. It's just, it is what it is. Okay? That's all we had on it. It's just go back and watch the 3 episodes. It's all on there. Let's see. You want new information? It is what it is. All right, you did win. So you can you can get the everything mug, Charleston Amy. Just send me your address again, and we'll do it. All right. So now we're gonna do 2 notebooks here. Aunt Clara. I think that was from last night. So you get the notebook, and then there's a blank space right there. And here we go. Oh, and Loretta Reyes for the notebook. All right, there you go, there you go. All right, you guys, there we go. We got the mug and the 2 notebooks. Thank you. Yep. Yeah, I don't really get it why we need to do the Dyatlov Pass over again. It's like it is what it is, you know. We did a 3 night series on it that was like 3 hours a piece, and now you want to do it again? Wow. All right, you guys. All right, so that's it, everybody, and we will see you guys tomorrow. All right. Okay. I'm just reading. I just keep there. There isn't new information though, Plato. It's the same thing as it was. People just we put it out like 2 years ago. There isn't anything new. I mean, yeah, sure, there are the same new conspiracy theories. Oh, it was some sound wave confabulation of the vortex combined with the irrational theories of the correlations between. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Yes, it's about the scientists. All right, guys. We'll see you later. Thank you very much for being here. Until next time, be safe out there. And a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and a 5, and a 6, and a 7, and an 8.
Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now.
And thank you,
and during this whole
Casey,
time,
for coming.
I have not seen one person.
Hope we get some answers one of these days.
Crime dissector, flag rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector.
Yes, of course. Dyatlov Pass. The scientist. We've gone over it 100 times. We all know.
Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Gragel's gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a pup protector. Fool deflector, interceptor, and I'm meaner than a specter with a vector on his pector. With all respect, y'all. Just remember, I've a temper fucking checked ya.
I have you were on the channel when we did it.
And I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody? Talk to you.
Hey, Zozo, you've been on the channel when we did that case. Remember, Stacy came on. We did a 3-night series on the Dyatlov Pass. It was pretty cool. How do you forget that one? Man, that's wild. All right, you guys, thank you very much for being here.
Gosh, Gray, I want to do a show on the Dyatlov Pass too, Jay.
But we already did one. It's there. Then why do you need to take a peek at it, Zozo, if it's already been done? I guess is what I'm asking.
Gosh, Gray, they just want to watch it again.
No, they want to do a whole new show on it, Mary Lou.
Well, yeah, that's weird. Why would they want to do that?
Because go over the new information.
Well, what new information?
That's exactly what I said. All right. Anyway, see you guys later, and be safe out there.